And we're live.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order our Arcadia Unified School Board of Education meeting at 7:01 p.m. We have all board members here. Connor Waugh, our student representative, is unable to make it tonight. All administrators are here. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I have the inspiration for tonight, and it's a very simple statement. This is a quote from Reverend Al Sharpton. You cannot stop the hate against anyone unless you fight the hate against everyone. And that is my inspiration for tonight. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, that motion was made by Mrs. Yee, seconded by Mr. Eng. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the report of action taken in closed session. There were no actions taken in closed session. Audience comments. I believe we have one audience comment tonight, Mr. Kevin Fox, ATA President.
Good evening, board and executive team. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Kevin Fox, and I'm very proud to represent the 400 plus teachers here in the Arcadia Unified School District as president of the Arcadia Teachers Association. Over the past months, you've heard a lot about teachers here in Arcadia and even what we think and want from people who are not teachers. My aim tonight is to share some things, a few things about you, with you about teachers by teachers. So before I got here tonight, I tried to figure out the exact number of years of experience that the collective teacher corps here in Arcadia possesses. I couldn't figure it out exactly, but I made a rough estimate. It's somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 years of teaching experience. I think it is safe to say that there is something of an earned wisdom about education in that number. Additionally, 357 of our 420 plus teachers hold a master's degree, and that's over 80% of our teaching staff. If you add the number of hours that teachers have spent on continuing education and professional development, both within the district and personally, that'd probably be enough for each of us to get a doctorate or two. It was these teachers who stepped up last March and virtually reinvented school as we know it overnight. They have been working tirelessly, oftentimes with school age and even younger children at home, or caring for a partner, a spouse, or a parent with staggering health issues and challenges. They didn't give up. They didn't throw in the towel. They have tried to continue to provide our students with as close to normal a learning experience as a global pandemic would allow for. They want to do more, not less. And now we're faced with yet another pivot, less than a quarter of the year to go. And we'll do it, and we'll do it to the very best of our abilities. The majority of our teachers are ready to come back to in-person instruction as they balance the anxiety of being out of the bubble of near isolation of the past year to being in classrooms with students who are not yet able to get vaccinated. Dr. Van Osdol, thank you. You gave us your word that we would not reopen schools until the teachers have had a chance, an opportunity to get a vaccine. And I'm pleased to know that many have. And so thank you for that. If keeping your word and having integrity means that you're under the control of the union, well, what else can we get your word on? Because I think that's great, and we appreciate you. As we now collaboratively work closely on the myriad details required for us to welcome some students back to our campuses and classrooms, I'm reminded of the three words, imagine, inquire, and inspire, that adorn the walls of this very building. I know that our teachers are thinking of all the ways they will continue to make these ideals a reality. But let us not forget that there are some who can't imagine how they were going to face some staggering personal and familial challenges. Without our compassion, flexibility, support, empathy, creativity, some of them will face the challenges of having to take a leave or worse. I know that we can achieve anything when we set our minds to it, when we work together. That's the Arcadia way. In closing, I'd like to say, yes, it is too early to start talking about August. Just give us a month. We'll be back in May. We'll get ready and we'll get the work done necessary to begin the next school year with energy and excitement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fox. Let's see. At this point, it's the student representative report. I believe Mr. Connor Waugh gave you a video, Mr. Bramley.
Yes, I'll have it right up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Ashley Lynn. I'm a senior and I'm the ASB treasurer. Tonight I will be reading the first half of the student representative report. ASB and the student body has recently approved and added a new position, the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Commissioner, or the EDI Commissioner.
I'm gonna have to restart. I'm not sure why it cut out here. Hold on just a second.
Hi everybody, my name is Ashley Lynn. I'm a senior and I'm the ASB treasurer. Tonight I will be reading the first half of the student representative report. ASB and the student body has recently approved and added a new position, the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Commissioner, or the EDI Commissioner. The new commissioner will be elected in the current spring elections and will work as a liaison between the student EDI organization established by Arcadia High School Administration and ASB. The ASB Vice President is currently conducting the 2021 ASB Spring Elections to elect the ASB members who will represent AHS students for the 2021 to 2022 school year. The sign-ups and forms were released on Thursday, March 18th, and the informational candidate meeting was held yesterday on Monday, March 22nd. Additionally, the ASB Vice President is working with Prom Committee to release forms for Prom Royalty Court nominations alongside the spring elections timeline. The Club Commissioner is finalizing plans for virtual spring preview, which will take place from April 12th to April 16th. Link Crew has just hosted its annual Freshman Movie Night on March 19th on Friday. They are also in the midst of planning for an on-campus freshman orientation experience that will take place after spring break in conjunction with administration. Link Crew is also currently going through the recruitment process for Link Crew 2021 to 2022.
Hello, my name is Maureen Zhang and I am a senior this year and I am the 2020 to 2021 ASB Secretary. Tonight I will be presenting the second half of our board report. Starting off with the Academics Commissioner, the We the People Constitution team is currently hosting tryouts with members of the current team being involved as judges. Science Olympiad placed 6th at regionals and will be sending one competition team to states. AHS Choral premiered an evening at the Opera to showcase group and solo performances on March 11th. The PEP Commissioners will be hosting the upcoming Spring Assembly on March 25th. Like ASB's previous assemblies, it will be live streamed on YouTube for anyone in the Arcadia community to enjoy. This assembly will feature virtual performances from PEP Squad, orchestras, chanteurs, and many other organizations. Junior Council is hosting Memory Lane Monday on April 5th, and the event will be held in a Zoom call from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The evening will include the streaming of nostalgic TV show, episodes, and commercials, as well as a Kahoot game to end off the night. Sophomore Council is hosting Room of Riddles, an escape room bonding event via Zoom on March 26th from 8 to 9:45 p.m. Teams will be trying to solve their way out of themed virtual escape rooms, promoting a sense of togetherness and bonding among the class of 2023. And finally, the Student Council Apache Commission is finalizing plans for its spring money drive, which will occur virtually from March 29th to April 16th. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thank you very much to those AHS students who are providing us with the updates. The next item is action item A, resolution number 1425, Autism Acceptance Month. And I'd like to turn that over first to Dr. Catherine Mahoney.
Thank you so much, Madam President, Kinsler, board members, and Dr. Van Ostal for having us here at tonight's Board of Education meeting for this resolution item. Arcadia Unified School District has a long history of extraordinary specialized services and programming for students with autism provided by the best special education staff. We are so fortunate to have had the ongoing support of our current and past Board of Education members, Dr. Van Ostal, and our executive team since we began developing our first specialized classroom program for preschool students with autism over 10 years ago. We've had the honor of learning and growing alongside our students and families as an educational community, resulting in our programs and services being regarded throughout the San Gabriel Valley and beyond as the best. We have earned this reputation because our Arcadia Unified School District community has truly accepted and valued students with autism, recognizing we are better because of the amazing neurodiversity of each of our learners. Our success and our students' success comes because we are not in isolation, but rather fully interwoven into the fabric of our Arcadia Unified School District community. Tonight, I am joined by Ms. Andrea Vallejo, Ms. Erica Abraham, and Mr. Paul DeSura, elementary and middle school education specialists who teach in our specialized programs for some of our students with autism.
We would first like to thank our incredible students and families who have given us the opportunity to work alongside them and become part of their communities. It is because of you that we get to be the educators that we are today. Your partnership has enriched the lives of all who have the privilege to work with your students. You are an integral part of what makes our schools so great. The diversity your families bring to our community will continue to impact our lives beyond the classroom.
Next, we would like to thank our amazing principals and school site staff. Their support and leadership have created welcoming and inclusive environments for our students to learn, be accepted, and thrive. Thank you to our PTAs for your generosity and time, as you have helped create and support opportunities for our students to learn more about their peers with autism. To our general education colleagues, we thank you for your support, collaboration, and acceptance of our exceptional students.
Our students with autism, preschool through age 22, participate in a variety of educational settings in Arcadia and participate in a wide array of extracurricular opportunities available to all students. Our comprehensive support system includes physical therapists, speech therapists, adapted physical education teachers, assistive technology specialists, vision specialists, deaf and hard of hearing support, behavior intervention specialists, school psychologists, school counselors, and our instructional aides, just to name a few. These are vital in our program's success. Our program would not be possible without their amazing expertise. Thank you all so much for the work you do to support our students.
And finally, to our beautiful neurodiverse students, thank you for being uniquely you. You have touched our hearts and opened our minds to embrace and celebrate the differences we all share. You are the reason we choose to be educators. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. I will now read the resolution before calling for a motion on this. Board of Education, Arcadia Unified School District, resolution number 1425, Autism Acceptance Month, April 2021. Whereas autism is a lifelong developmental disability that manifests during the first few years of a child's life and results from a neurological disorder that affects brain function. And whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, can affect an individual's social, communication, and behavioral skills. And whereas autism affects children from all countries, regardless of gender, race, or socioeconomic status. And whereas it is estimated that as many as 2.41% of children in the United States are affected by ASD, and whereas young adults with autism are less likely to continue their education past secondary school, and 35% do not have a job or receive postgraduate education after leaving high school, and whereas autism affects people from all backgrounds but disproportionately affects minority and economically disadvantaged communities due to the cost and inaccessibility of autism care, and whereas medical expenses for children with ASD are shown to be 4 to 6 times greater than those without ASD, and whereas there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, it is often possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas, while there is no diagnostic test for ASD, the increased awareness of autism and detection services available today make it possible for more people to be properly diagnosed with ASD. And whereas ASD is not becoming more pervasive, but rather the increased accessibility to services and professionals is assisting individuals in the diagnosis process. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health and safety, as well as the resilience of their families as they manage the psychological and financial burdens of autism presents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing board of the Arcadia Unified School District that the month of April is designated as Autism Awareness Month, adopted this 23rd day of March 2021 at the regular meeting of the Arcadia Unified School District Board of Education. And I'll call for a motion.
I would very much like to move that we adopt Resolution 1425, Autism Acceptance Month for April of 2021, as presented.
Seconded.
Okay. The motion was, any discussion on this? The motion was made by Mrs. Chavez, seconded by Mr. Chung. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Madam
you very
President,
much.
Madam President, I just want to say how happy I am to see this resolution passed by our board, and for Dr. Mahoney to be here and showcase all the work she does. It really exemplifies, our better together culture here in Arcadia, and I'm just want to say I'm really happy to see this pass today.
Thank you. I agree with that. It's so nice to be able to celebrate our neurodiverse learners and all that they bring to us. I've, over the years, enjoyed the work that different schools have done, Camino Grove being one, where they always hold special autism awareness and acceptance things. I miss doing those and look forward to hopefully next year when we'll be able to do those in person. Thank you, and thank you for your presentation, Dr. Mahoney and team. Okay, now we have item B, the Arcadia Unified School District Arcadia Pupil Support Services Association public hearing and approval of tentative agreement. Dr. Hirschu, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam President. So we are very proud to bring forth the APSA tentative agreement, which is the result of our interest-based bargaining process, otherwise known as IBB. And as you know, IBB is rooted in trust, transparency, and respect, and it significantly contributes to the healthy culture of AUSD. The APSA Association represents counselors, nurses, speech and language pathologists, psychologists, and program specialists. President Andrew Poon and his negotiations team have served as active partners during what has been an unprecedented school year. Now, we know that the total compensation package represented in the TA could never come close to reflect the awesome work of our talented staff during this school year. But on behalf of AUSD, I wish to thank Andrew and APSA for their consistent commitment and collaboration. So with that, we enthusiastically recommend for approval the APSA TA and AB 1200.
Thank you. I'll have my public hearing. I'm reaching for my trusty gavel I open the public hearing. Are there any comments? Hearing no comments, I now close the public hearing. Okay, now I would love to call for a motion for this.
I'll move to approve the AUSD APSA tentative agreement for the 2020-21 year.
Second. Oh.
Okay, great. Is there any discussion on this?
I just want to say thank you to those in APSA for continuing the interest-based bargaining. I think that being partners and working to solve things that come to the table and the ability for anyone to share any idea and discussion topic is really appreciated, and we just appreciate all the work that's been done.
Agreed. And with that, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we're to, there were no items removed from the consent agenda, so now we're to the highlight. I've been seeing these wonderful young learners on our webpage, and I'm so excited to be able to hear from Holly Avenue. Next up is Holly Avenue Elementary School Board Presentation at School Spotlight. I'll turn it over to Dr. Forsey to introduce them.
Thank you very much. And I love that you said the highlight. This absolutely is the highlight of our board meeting. And this is, again, evidence. When people ask about the decisions made and the work that went into virtual learning and the commitment to that district-wide down to each site, each one of these highlights is absolute evidence of that planning and commitment. And I could not be happier, more proud. Teresa has a lot of people here with her, and I promise you there's a lot more people online watching right now because my phone is blowing up from people saying, hurry up and get to Holly. So Teresa, take it away.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to have all the students here. But as you know, Arcadia is a place like no other, a place where people come from all over the world to live. It's a special community where families come for the schools and stay because the people who dedicate their lives to supporting children. Where the community, the Board of Education, district leadership believe in their educators opening the windows for them to try new things, which enables our students to soar to great heights. In this city where there are many wonderful families, there is one that stands out for me, the Holly Avenue family. Our students, parents, and staff would like to share a little about the opportunities we have offered this year with a focus on multiple tiered systems of support and community outreach in the virtual classroom. Next. So come with me tonight where dreams are born and opportunities are planned. Just think of happy things and your heart will fly on wings forever in Hollyland. We begin this adventure of opportunities tonight by visiting room 25, Miss Keating's kindergarten class.
Thank you, Mrs. Oakland. I'm Miss Keating, and welcome as we begin our journey through Holly Avenue Elementary School, a place of wonder, imagination, and discovery. We're so grateful you have joined us this evening in kindergarten, a place that most people as adults dream of going back to, because let's be real, you get to be a kid. You get to have fun, be messy, and be exposed to a tremendous amount of academics that will inspire you to change the world and make it a better place. Imagine a place where students are welcome to dream, inquire, and be inspired. A place where students are loved and cared for and seen for who they are. That is kindergarten. That is our school at Holly Avenue Elementary, a place where excellence is desired and something to be strived for. So when the news of virtual learning came, I quickly dreamed of how to make kindergarten all it could be. I wanted to create a sense of normalcy for the students and as quickly as possible. I envisioned a place where students could not be on mute, a place where they could make friends. I dreamed of an atmosphere where they could learn to love others well, where they could laugh, get messy, get paint on their hands, where they could work together, collaborate, respectfully disagree, learn from mistakes, problem solve, listen, and be heard. On top of creating a space where they could learn rich material in small groups, so I as a teacher could truly know what their needs were. But how was this attainable? Well, that was the part where I had to go to what I know and what I have to believe in, which is vision and collaboration, what we at Arcadia Unify refer to as being better together. So I went to the drawing board and I dreamed big. How did I do that? I collaborated with an outstanding team from Arcadia Unified who shared in the vision of excellence for our students. I called upon our experienced and specialized teams like Mrs. Quell, Mrs. Dolly, Mrs. Philippa, Miss Bateman, and Mrs. Engel to create daily rotations each day where students could be known, where their voices could be heard, and where they could receive small group instruction, where we could laugh, share, and experience the normalcy of being in a classroom. And we've done just that. My students love their teachers. They love each other. They care deeply for each other. And they and we laugh a lot. Not only that, they're problem solving. They encourage each other. And most importantly, they learn from each other because we are truly better together. We are better together as a family, as students, as teachers, and as community. And we worked with community to shine. As you may recall from being in kindergarten or elementary school, the memories of fire and police department visits, field trips might flood your mind. Well, in order to create these experiences, I referred to what my grandma calls as the squeaky wheel. I called and got the Arcadia Fire Department, Police Department, and even Big Bear Valley Eagle Foundation to come into our virtual life online and bravely enter the unknown territory of kindergarten. Thankfully, they were beyond willing to come and speak, share, and even visit our classroom as we learned the value of working together as a community and as a classroom. So, as you've realized, we are better together. And I have two students here that I'd love for you to hear from. Let's hear from Braden and his mother, Mrs. Rebecca Larache Rose, as we hear what he has loved about kindergarten. Are you there?
Yep, here.
Hi, Braden. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Do you want to talk to us?
Yep, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, let's go, bud.
I like to go to school and learn with my friends. My favorite things to learn are science and math. It is exciting to do science experiments with Miss Keating. I like the one where we saw how hot rice and water got sitting in the sun. I enjoy math, turning into all numbers and playing math dance with Mrs. Two. I have fun reading with Miss Dally and learning about China and Mexico with Miss Romana. My favorite thing to do is watch the eagles, Jackie and Shadow. I have learned so much about eagles. They build big nests. Shadow brings new sticks and fluff to the nest every day. He also brings fish for Jackie to eat. I love them. I think I may want to be an eagle when I grow up. Mommy's turn. That's Mommy's turn.
Well, thank you, Brayden, for sharing. Let's hear from your mom.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon, so much. Yeah. I want to start by thanking all of you for allowing me to share my experiences as a parent of a kindergarten student in a virtual learning scenario. There have been positive experiences for my son, which I believe is largely due to the engagement and creativity of Miss Keating. My husband and I feel so lucky that Brayden is in her class and at Holly Avenue. Some things that have contributed to such a positive learning environment has been the use of the breakout rooms and Zoom classes with the community helpers. Breakout rooms have been so wonderful for my son as they've allowed him to be exposed to different teachers that were really able to focus in on one subject. This was a useful tool as it helped to break up the online learning hour and keep him engaged in shorter class segments. I know Brayden is always excited to see each teacher every day as a part of his school.
Yeah,
Thanks. Ms. Keating also brought in community helpers to enrich the online classroom. We got to learn about the Arcadia Police, Arcadia Fire Department, and the Big Bear Bald Eagles. It was so fun to learn experientially about these helpers in addition to reading about them or watching videos about them. It was very exciting for Brayden to get to see a police dog, to see and hear the sirens on a fire truck, and most importantly, to get to ask a volunteer from the Big Bear Eagle Cam questions. Thanks again to all of you for this opportunity to share about my son's first experience at school. Thanks.
Thank you, Brayden, and thank you, Mrs. Rebecca LaRoche Rose. It's so good to hear from you. Brayden, I'm so proud of you. You did so good.
Thank you.
Now let's hear from our friend Logan and Mr. Philip Allen on their experience in kindergarten. And as you can see, Logan is dressed to the nines in his fire uniform outfit. Hi, Logan.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm just a little shy.
I know. I noticed that you were wearing a firefighting outfit. Is that really special to you?
Yeah, this holds a lot of memories.
What,
when I got it for my birthday, it was way too big.
And now it's grown into it?
Yeah.
Brayden, do you remember when the fire department came to our classroom?
Yes.
On Zoom? What was it like for you?
Oh, she's asking.
It was really good. It was really good seeing the fire department. Also, when I grow up, I want to be a fighter.
Oh my goodness. So, Logan, when you went to the fire station, did you get to ride in the real truck?
No.
You didn't get to ride in it, but what did you get to do?
I got to turn on the sirens.
Oh my goodness. Was that so fun?
Yeah, but they were loud.
They're really loud,
also,
right?
You know what?
What?
The firefighters' outfits and clothes are fireproof.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And they showed you what else did they show you that was in the truck?
They showed me They showed me all the gear they have, including the firefighting the outfits. But they didn't get us to show upstairs since of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID, they weren't allowed to take us. Normally, when they give you a tour of the firehouse, they would take you into like their kitchen and like their living, spaces and stuff like that. But because of COVID, they weren't allowed to do that. But they were more than gracious.
And also, they give us an ice pack.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Logan, I'm so glad that the fire department was so inspiring to you and that they invited you to come and visit in real life so that you could be inspired to be a firefighter one day.
Yeah. Can my mom go next?
Well, let's hear from your dad and then we'll go on to somebody else.
Yeah. I spent 23 years in the Navy and I worked in a schoolhouse. I wasn't exactly sure how, kindergarten on Zoom was going to be. But I will tell you that Miss Keating and Miss Quo and Miss Romana and Miss Dolly and Miss Bateman and everybody that she has come in has made it absolutely wonderful. I mean, doesn't exactly replace being in the classroom, but I can't imagine how it would have been any better the way that it has been. The fire department was great. They were, they invited Logan, come on down. We'll love to give you a tour. And we showed up about 20 minutes later after class was over, and they're like, that was fast. But they were great. It was fun to talk to them, and it was right after the fires, like up on the hill and stuff. So it was, they were very talkative, very helpful, very, they loved the kids, and they gave Logan a great tour. So, thank you to Miss Keating to, bring that in and inspire, some of these, young kids in dreams of what they're going to be later on in life.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Logan. And thank you to your dad, Mr. Philip Allen, for sharing. It was so good to hear from you. And as you can see, we really like the world that we create in kindergarten. And as we've most vividly seen this past year, we need every part in order to thrive and truly be better together. It begins with families who give their all to make learning an experience of what we do together. And it's not just what the teacher does. It's what we all can do to come alongside each other to make Holly Avenue the best it can be. So let's hear more about being better together from our amazing Parent-Teacher Association, who continues to provide amazing opportunities for our students and families. Off to you, PTA.
Hello, I'm Helena Cooper, the current Holly Avenue PTA president. Each year, we like to offer many opportunities to bring our community together. This year, our PTA board had to be creative with our events. One of our kids' favorites is the book fair. We partnered with Scholastic and offered a couple online book fairs. Because of this, we were able to gift over 150 books to the teachers' classroom libraries and our school library. In October, we still had our annual pumpkin decorating contest, but this time, kids sent in pictures of the decorated pumpkins. Then we compiled video montages of this event and others to showcase our students' talents. And over the past school year, we held virtual association meetings, family art night, and we had our Inclusive Dance with Me Valentine's event, all on Zoom. The Holly Avenue PTA also started a virtual family STEAM night series. At this monthly event, Arcadia High School clubs like the Coding Club, Chemistry Club, Pre-Med, Destination Imagination, and the Kids Support Group presented to our kids. We were also glad to get presenters like the Pasadena Audubon Society. And coming up next month, we are all very excited for NASA JPL to present to us about the Mars 2020 rover. The Holly Avenue PTA also likes to support our wonderful staff here, which includes our school nurse, Miss Gina Ragosa. Now let's hear from her.
Hi everyone, I'm also known at Holly as Miss Gina. I want to talk briefly about some of the nursing rule changes during this pandemic. Our roles as nurses changed dramatically last March. Instead of first aid and visiting with our frequent flyers, we started calling attendants remotely and communicating more than ever by email. This may seem trivial, but it was actually a vital component for staying in touch. Sometimes those calls and emails ended up being IT support or emotional support. We had some challenges, but we always pulled our resources and worked through them. For me, that means my way of saying I called the office and Mida Frame, our office supervisor, handled it. As nurses, we really learned to adapt. When COVID affected our AUSD families directly, we made follow-up care calls. We offered resource connections for food, healthcare, and testing services. Our families were very receptive and so thankful. As you know, COVID data changed constantly, but because the nursing staff was always so well informed by our principal, Teresa, Ryan Ferran, and our district nurse, Erica Newkirk, it made our job so much easier. I feel this experience overall has made me a more empathetic nurse, and I'm grateful for my Holly Avenue staff because they always made me feel confident and empowered to offer assistance when needed.
We cannot thank our PTA, our LVNs, and the support staff enough because we really are better together. They've helped many of our students and the learning experience within the classroom. In addition to their support, we have had many other ways to provide outreach. One way is through the support of the Arcadia High School clubs that was mentioned with PTA. We have clubs such as the Kids Support Group offering activities on Saturdays. And here's a video from the tech team describing their Tuesday afternoon clubs with grades 3 through 5.
Hi, I'm Smriti.
And I'm Shivani, and we're from Tech Team Arcadia.
We wanted to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to talk about our program.
During these 9 weeks, students will learn the concepts and vocabulary that are used in most coding languages through a program called Scratch. Every week, each student will learn a new concept and complete a mini project that revolves around the theme of storytelling.
In the 9th class, each student will get the chance to showcase all that they've learned as well as one of their favorite projects.
Once again, thank you so much, and we're excited to continue with the classes.
Additionally, we've been able to support teachers in other districts through Twitter and other social media. Here's Christine Pinto, who just completed her 2nd book and shares how her students have made even connections across the country.
Hi, I am Christine Pinto, and I teach kindergarten at Holly. For the past 4 years, my classes have been collaborating on a daily, year-long basis with a class in New Jersey. Learning and connecting has gone beyond the walls of the classroom with special projects and shared rituals and routines. An example of this is our daily weather reporting and graphing ritual. A child from each class reports the weather via video from their city every day. This allows us to hit the science standard of observing weather patterns over time in such a meaningful way. With an all-virtual learning environment this year, I needed to reach out to my families and keep this ritual alive. I'm proud to say that by the end of March, all of my students will have had the opportunity to create weather report videos for a whole week to represent our kindergarten class. Huge shout out to my families. Our reach has gone beyond the classroom, beyond Arcadia, and all the way across the country.
So we now head over to visit our amazing ELD teacher, Mr. Chuang, and learn how he has been building relationships through the ELD program.
Hi, you guys. I'm the ELD teacher here at Holly Avenue. I'm Mr. Chuang. I'm talking about relationship building through our ELD program. One of the ways we build relationships is through our ELAC meetings. ELAC stands for English Learner Advisory Committee, and it's where parents and staff meet to discuss Holly Avenue and also the ELD program. Now, when we first started going all virtual, we weren't sure how it was going to turn out with our ELAC meetings. Usually in person, we get about 20 families the most, but our last winter ELAC meeting, we had over 50 families attend, and we would not ever have been able to do that if it was in person because my classroom couldn't fit everybody. And during our ELAC meetings, we talked about the thoughts and the feelings and, the concerns that, our EL community had for what was going on for the ELD program and for Holly Avenue and how we could support each other. And so here are some of the comments that they came up with and we discussed. Some parents wanted more support, especially in this pandemic virtual learning. They wanted their kids to practice their English more because in Zoom it's really hard. And so we discussed ways of having lunch bunches and everything else. And we build other relationships with our students. They even want to stay in ELD even longer. Like Quentin Liu wanted to go to ELD 3 for another year after this. And last one over here, Baron Liu, he's our ELAC president. And let's see what he had to say. I actually recorded it, so let's see.
一些活动啊，去帮助他通过这个考 ELAC 的这个测试，帮助他，而且不停的就是提醒我们重视小孩的这个语言的能力、语言的培养、语言的这个，我觉得这2点，我是非常欣赏。
Okay, Mr. Lee shared 2 points. First, he's grateful for the patience Mr. Tran has for the students, and he knows that a lot of students who has limited English, so especially during this time pandemic, there's no interaction, not much interaction, so it requires Mr. Tran, so he appreciates that very much. And secondly, he appreciates that the district, the school holds different meetings to prepare, to help the parents understand the program, to help them to go over the LPAC and remind them to, the learning English is very important, and ask the parent for their support.
All right, and that's just a snippet of how we built relationships. But anyways, let's go check out Holly Avenue's special education 3rd grade class.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ms. Okora Wider. I am the 3rd grade special education teacher, and our theme was togetherness in our classroom. Togetherness as a team has been a resounding theme in Ms. Okora Wider's class this year. Bitmoji Classroom to meet the teacher instructional aides and learn about daily updates for the parents. Daily morning brain breaks to get your morning started off in a fun manner. Jeopardy across all content areas as a content review. Arcadia Police Department virtual visit from Officer Wider. Science, the study of flight, paper airplanes, a hands-on experiment. Daily math warm-ups for students to be engaged and make mathematical inferences and observations. Creative World and STEAM Makers Empire projects. And finally, last but not least, virtual holiday celebrations from Valentine's Day to Mars Perseverance, all the way to Dr. Seuss's birthday. Great, thank you. And we also have one of our amazing parents here, Micah Chang's mother. Are you here?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hi, I'm Sandy Chang. My son Micah is in Mrs. O's class. So I recognize that the pandemic has been really difficult for everyone and all families across the board. But for families with special needs children, it's presented a certain set of challenges and unique challenges that I don't think any one of us could have ever predicted that we'd have to confront. And so what this has done is that it's really highlighted the creativity of the teaching staff and how they engage the students. So kids, especially on the autism spectrum, which is what Micah has, it's difficult for them to engage. And so what I found to be really amazing and truly inspiring has been how Mrs. O and all the teaching assistants have just used technology in a way that actually engages the students. And again, this is something no easy feat for any children, but especially kids with special needs. And so that's been something that we've really come to appreciate. So whether Mrs. O already highlighted some of them, but for us, like Micah, Mrs. O would assign weekly tasks or jobs for the kids. Micah loves being the joke teller. He has channeled his love of space and looks up actively these jokes, which are sometimes like hilarious and sometimes make no sense to me. But they are the funnest part of his day because he loves sharing those jokes, and Miss O has provided that space. And that's been something that's great because again, kids, he gives him a sense of ownership and that this is his space. The other thing I wanted to showcase, I know again that this has been difficult, and I'm not trying to downplay that by any means, but I have, as well as I think a lot of the other families in Mrs. O's class, we have to sit next to our kids a lot of times. And it's not because we're just trying to make sure they're in class, it's because we genuinely have to kind of coach them and be with them through the whole process during the class day or the school day. And I'll tell you the honest truth. I've always said, for all my years, I've always said I should never be teaching or responsible for teaching any child ever, not even my own, because I don't feel equipped to do so. I love teachers and I bless them to pieces because I know my own limitations. But being by Micah and sitting next to him, watching how, again, the TAs, how Miss O, how Miss Spees, how all of the staff really rallies, and again, using their creativity and how they engage, I actually feel better equipped now to understand my son better, to know what he knows, but also to understand how he learns, which is something I never knew. And I actually have like some tools in my pocket to be able, that I've taken and stolen from the teaching staff, to be able to now implement at home after school hours. And that's been, something that's been really, like, I know, again, I can't say this enough, the pandemic has been difficult, distance learning has been difficult, but the silver lining really has been this opportunity to make me closer to my son, and for us as a family to be better equipped to address his needs and meet his needs at this time. I'll stop by sharing this small anecdote, and Mrs. Oakland can attest to this. So for the last 3 years, we've had IEP meetings, and every IEP meeting, we always end up crying. At the end of our IEP meeting, I always end up crying. And it's not because I'm inherently just a weepy person, maybe, but part of it is that as parents with a child, with special needs, we never really know what we're hoping for. We don't know what we're looking for. See, here I go. But we don't know what to expect at all. And at every IEP meeting, I'm always like floored, not only by Micah's progress, but how much that progress is a result of the team that's been surrounded around him. And so Holly Avenue is more than just a school to us. It really has become a family. We feel so supported there. We have friends who go to other districts, and they're often like giving us a hard time because we've been spoiled by the experience we've had at Holly and Arcadia. So I just wanted to share that with everyone, to really thank the Holly Avenue staff for everything that they've been doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Chang. And now we're going to walk over to room 21 to the amazing Miss Baum's 5th grade classroom, and she's going to teach us a little bit more about universal design for learning.
Good evening, Arcadia Unified. Universal Design for Learning invites educators to develop flexible learning environments and spaces that support individual learning. In distance and hybrid learning, how can a teacher develop a learning environment when the students are all in different physical settings? As a student's learning coach, what might I do to invite the highest level of engagement for each of the students, while creating a school day experience that is easily navigated by the student and one that felt like a regular day at Holly Avenue? First, we focus on shared experiences using technology as our learning environment. We invited experts, teachers, and authors into our learning platform. Author Supriya Kelkar attended one of our book club sessions as we read American as Paneer Pie. We sat on the edge of our seats as we watched the Perseverance rover land on Mars. We went to San Francisco to attend science classes at California Academy of Science. We visited 5th grade buddies in North Carolina and went on a tour of historic Jamestown in Virginia. To encourage a shared learning environment, I used daily slide decks that contained our learning objectives and assignments, resources, Easter eggs, both synchronous and asynchronous agendas that linked directly into Google Classroom. Our daily slides became our learning hub where we could navigate our learning day. Utilizing the slide deck helped to provide multiple entry points for the students to access the learning. For example, as we read class novels, chapters would be available to read as a PDF, but there was also an audio version. And for my social learners, we had class listening times assigned in our synchronous agenda. I would pull the students after each chapter, and consistently throughout this year, 33% of the class would choose each format, and their choices would vary from day to day. Allowing the students to access the class novel in 3 different ways, made our Jamboard and Padlet discussions more rich because of the high level of participation. Students not only accessed learning through multiple entry points, but they were also producing work based on objectives rather than prescribed products. For example, in our vocabulary study, students began creating not just definitions and sentences of unfamiliar and challenging words, but they were designing one-pagers that looked like graphic novels, creating slideshows. Some assignments were done on the computer while others were on notebook paper. And even a few students started to dabble in digital artwork that turned out stunning. The benefits of universally designed learning for students extends far beyond classroom walls, and it's what helps build communities of learners, even during this unexpected year. But don't take my word for it. After tonight's spotlight, I'd like to invite you to click the students and pictures on this slide to hear directly from the students in room 21 as they reflect on their own virtual experience this year. Now I'd like to invite you to come on over to room 11 to visit the students in Ms. Cheng's third grade classroom.
Thank you, Mrs. Baum. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Virginia Chang, and I've taught in Arcadia for the past 28 years, and I currently teach third grade. Here at Holly Avenue, nurturing our students means growing and developing students wherever they are. Whether they're a student who's so shy they can't bear to speak out loud, or a student who has plenty of words to say and just needs guidance to develop their voice. We need to nurture each and every one of them towards their unique purpose. Today, I have 3 third grade students who have been at our school since kindergarten. They've been guided and cared for by over 50 teachers and staff members. When a child enters our doors at Holly Avenue, they belong to not just one of us, but all of us. And not just for 1 year, but for their entire stay. Brandon, could you please share with us your experience?
Okay. Hi, my name is Brandon Sum. I have been at Holly Avenue since kindergarten. Now I am in third grade. I used to have a hard time listening and staying on track. Miss Cheng has helped me use all my energy to focus better in class. Miss Cheng helped me and the whole class stay organized during COVID-19. At Holly Avenue, I have nice, kind teachers. I believe Holly Avenue is a safe place to learn, play, and make friends. I hope we can go back to school soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Now we have Mohsen. Mohsen, what would you like to share with us today?
My paragraph.
Okay, I can't wait to hear it.
Hi, my name is Mohsen. I am 8 years old and I have been to Holly Avenue since kindergarten. I'm now in third grade. Everyone knows about superpowers, right? Well, did you know that each and every one of us has a superpower? A voice. Your voice can change our school, our community, and our world. Whenever I come to school, virtually of course, I find kids being shy, especially during distance learning. But the teachers help them be more open so they aren't shy the next time they get called on. To be honest, I'm not really a shy person. I actually like to talk a lot, maybe a little too much. But doing so, I become more confident in myself. My teachers make my voice be recognized by everyone, whether it is at school or at home. I want to thank everyone who nurtured my voice to become recognized today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohsen. Our next speaker is coming to us pre-recorded from Plano, Texas, which is 2 hours ahead of us in past her bedtime. Cody's able to continue her education with us thanks to distance learning while her mom finishes her own education. We look forward to her return in the fall. Here's her poem. Oh, before I go on, knowing Cody's gift, I commissioned her to actually write this poem for us tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, the title of my poem is The Blossoming Hope of Holly Avenue. There's a place I like to walk into, with white, blue, and yellow calming colors. With a welcoming dolphin motto that chooses to dive deep. You see smiles on the faces of teachers, children, and staff, where we graceful dolphins achieve wonderful things. And a place for delicate minds to achieve greatness. This place is called Holly Avenue. And thanks to them, many children and students have found their way. Holly Avenue gives hope and helps us overcome the impossible. But Holly Avenue also teaches us students that life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important and capture the good times that roll from the negatives. And if things don't work out, take another shot. It assures us that we are braver than we believe, stronger than we think, and loved more than we will ever know. It's a place of wonders and miracles, and we enjoy happiness like it's an everlasting toy. Sometimes in life, we will fall down, but the most important thing is to get up. Life is a giant mountain. Climbing it will be easier with the help of Holly Avenue. We might fall 1,000 times, but it's not over yet. You need to get up, rise, and show everyone that you are an amazing shining star. No matter what, you do what you always do best, which is stand tall and stay strong. We will get through this time together. And once we do, we will help others discover the beauty of life, which is not giving up. If you try to burst and don't succeed, call it a version 1.0. And don't be discouraged because it's really hard to find the courage. First, but you are bright and beautiful in being yourself. Every moment at Holly Avenue is a moment of grace, peace, love, and joy combined together. We students know that as dolphins, we must stick together. No matter how hard the times are, we are family. We are in a time tougher than ever, but we will still stick together. I can't think of a feeling better than knowing I can trust my dolphin family, because Holly Avenue has its spark to stand out. Like there's a mark we shouldn't doubt, and we dolphins blossom till the very end, and that is what we should always remember. Thank you.
I hope Cody inspires all of you as much as she inspires me every single day. Now let's step over to our resource room with Mrs. Julie Lee.
Good evening, my name is Julie Lee, and I am the new RSP teacher at Holly Avenue. Tonight, I will be sharing a book titled The Perfect Fit. This is a story about a yellow triangle who likes to play with blue circles, but doesn't feel that she quite fits. Like when they're rolling around and she ends up rolling and poking the circles. So then she tries to hang out with the red squares, but when they're building a tower by stacking, no more squares can stack on top of the yellow triangle. So Yellow Triangle continues her search to find a place where she can fit in. After a long journey, she finds her triangle tribe, but soon realizes that it's actually not that fun without the rest of the shapes. So she invites all of her shape friends, and they're now able to be creative and work together to come up with new shapes, activities, and adventures. I share this book story because it reminds me of my students. Each of my students are different color shapes. And as students with IEPs, I believe that students are different. I believe that it is my duty to help them discover their capability as an individual, self-discovery, so to say, so that they're learning their individual strengths and interests. That way, they can take back the skills that we worked on and apply it in their classrooms in their least restrictive environment. In doing so, my beautifully colored shapes can feel included back in their classrooms and feel that they can participate and play with the rest of the shapes. And despite this school year being on virtual learning, many of our students with IEPs have been doing just that. They are able to participate in their Gen Ed classrooms for a majority of the day while still receiving their respective individualized instructions in RSP. We've seen an increase in the students' participation, work production, taking risks, and even leading small group activities. And I couldn't be any more proud to witness that. Next, not only was I new to Holly this year, but my daughter also joined the Holly family as a first grader. She is here to share her experience at Holly. Haley, what has it been like for you at Holly Avenue?
Hi, my name is Haley Lee, and I am in Mrs. Dyshot's class. Holly Avenue is a school of my dream, being in the same school as my mom, and my dream came true. One thing I love about Holly Avenue is that all the teachers are so kind to me. My teacher makes me feel very deep inside her heart and that she cares for me. I love Holly Avenue. Thank you. The next step of our Holly tour is Miss Erin Daly, Holly's academic program coach. Thank you.
Thank you, Haley, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. Good evening. This year has definitely presented us with many challenges, but with challenges comes unique opportunities. How do we meet the needs of our students in this digital learning environment? The answer is using data-driven decisions to provide interventions and supports using MTSS. In the slide, you'll notice the green tier, Tier 1, covers about 80% of our student populations and is embedded within our general education and regular special day classes. Some of the examples of the instructional supports that we provide this year include, as Ms. Keating mentioned, kindergarten centers rotations. Our amazing math coach, Mrs. Lisa Kuo, provides coaching and co-teaching in every single classroom. We also hold monthly data-driven collaboration meetings with each grade level to ensure that the supports and additional instructional materials and lessons we are providing are meeting the needs of our students and that we're seeing growth. Tier 2, or the yellow tier, reaches 5 to 15% of our students. So that's more targeted instructional intervention and supplemental supports. So this is where the bulk of my day is spent, in flexible small groups, kindergarten through 5th grade, providing skill-based supports. One way to ensure that we reach all of the students in many different ways as possible is through virtual classrooms on Google Classroom. They have access to games, they have access to read alouds and different materials through the Bitmoji classrooms. And there's even classes and rooms centered around student interest. So for example, you might see the Dodgers room there, a place the kids love to explore. As part of my flexible small group, I have a sample for you of a student in 2nd grade who's been focusing on his fluency reading with the SK and SC blends.
Hi, Miss Dicey. I'm gonna read you. My new scooter. I love my new scooter. I can skid all day with my new scooter. The one time day I fell off my scooter, I tripped on my scarf. I got a really bad scare. A big scoop of ice cream can make me feel better. Thanks, Miss Daddy, for hearing the story. Bye. I hope you have a nice day.
So as you can see, this young man has been practicing the blends. He is fearless, and the use of Flipgrid has allowed us to hear each student read on a regular basis and provide immediate feedback. Finally, a Tier 3, or the red triangle on the pyramid, is reserved for the 1 to 5% of our students who the first 2 tiers are not enough support. This is intensive, individualized interventions and supports. And this year, I am so pleased to have been able to use the Horizon Discovery Reading Program. As a result of the Cotter Group project and in collaboration with elementary stakeholders, all of the academic program and performance coaches were able to receive training on this program. And as you may have heard from Mr. Timry of Baldwin Stalker and Mrs. Elisa Fernandez of Camino Grove, the addition of this research-based program has been pivotal for those students who have been participating in our phonics interventions, but may not have progressed as much as we would have hoped. Following our most recent assessments, we have seen students' growth in my groups
Student 1 went from 78% accuracy to 98% accuracy on her phonics assessments. And student 2 went from a 59% to an 89% on his initial subtest A, and from 68 to 78% on subtest B. No matter the tier of MTSS, the key feature of all of the supports is building student self-confidence and efficacy. Despite the difficulties our students face, they persevere and rise to the occasion, which is why I presented this quote. And however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you just don't give up. With that, I would love to head over to the amazing and imaginative math lab to see what Mrs. Kuo has been up to.
All right, hi, I'm Lisa Kuo, and welcome to the Holly Avenue Math Lab. In the Math Lab, we reimagine what math instruction can look like, we inquire into student thinking and reasoning, and we inspire all kids to love mathematics. Please enjoy this brief peek into what math class looks like every day. And if you want to hear more from our young mathematicians later on, feel free to click on the links on the bottom of the slide. We are going to play an Itsy mystery. Are you ready?
Yay! With my answer. I'm putting the answer.
The reveal, here it is. The answer is...
12! I think that the circle doesn't belong because it's not, it's 2D, but the other ones are 3D. 50 plus 6 equals 56! I win!
All right,
congratulations, Tejas. Congratulations, Tejas. It was a good game.
So that would be right now. We need to lock in one.
GG's, bro. GG's, Grayson. GG's. You can do 10 times 90. That would equal 90. And then 90 plus 18 equals 108. And then if you want to do 45 plus 9 equals 54. Plus 54 equals 109. And 8.
All right, so now let's head on over to the school library where our librarian has been busy engaging our Holly readers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ivona Engel, the librarian at Holly Avenue. Reading books now became more important than ever. Students have been home for a year with limited access to reading materials. Reading books lets them go on different adventures, meet new people, make them laugh, smile, and sometimes help them deal with their problems and reality. In order to help the students with an easy access to the catalog, I created Holly Avenue Library website. They can find there the current library news, book recommendations, link to the library catalog, and instructions on how to check out the books. Once the students are done reading, they can drop it off and check out the next book the following day. This way, they have constant access to reading materials. Next, I set up Flipgrid for each classroom, where I record books, introduce different genres, run contests and activities. One of them was Storybook Pumpkin Patch, where kids had to cut out pumpkin, decorate it based on their favorite book character, and talk about it. The mixtape I posted had more than 1,300 views. Another activity was Read Aloud Share a Book. Students from upper elementary grade levels were reading picture books so younger students could listen to their peers over the winter break. Lastly, activities that do not involve the computer are very important too. Students participated in 2021 Friendship Book Float Parade Contest, during which they built their own floats based on the book where friendship was one of the themes. Students' access to books will always be my priority. I will continue to collaborate with teachers, create different activities and contests, and help as many students as I can to put their hands on the books, have fun, and grow. Thank you. And now let's head over and meet our counselor.
As the school counselor, my task at the beginning of distance learning became very clear, very quick. Assess how to support the social emotional needs of about 700 elementary age students while establishing a place for them to connect with their friends, motivate them academically, create and provide grade level appropriate lessons to TK through 5th grade, assist our families by providing resources, be available to brainstorm and collaborate with teachers, attend professional development webinars, and practice self-care. To most people, this may seem like an impossible task, but to an elementary school counselor, this sounds like a tremendous opportunity. In addition to monthly themed lessons and activities, the school counseling program at Holly Avenue hosts Lunch Bunch for all grade levels, where we love to socialize by playing games like Connect 4, Follow the Leader, Four Corners, Pictionary, and many more. In collaboration with the rest of the elementary school counseling team at AUSD, we have successfully planned a virtual parent workshop series. We are only halfway through this series, and we have already reached hundreds of families in the comforts of their own homes as they cook, clean, and tend to the busyness of their daily lives with the convenience of being able to listen in on advice from various experts in the field. Topics have included raising the screen generation, how to talk to your child about difficult topics, and next week's webinar, which is titled Addressing Stress and Anxiety in Our Children. Another incredible opportunity to come from distance learning as a part of the school counseling program at Holly Avenue has been our homework club. Homework club is held after school 4 days a week with the support of our wonderful intern, Miss Caitlin, and our amazing Arcadia High School tutor support, Miss Ella Yee. With the help of Miss Caitlin and Miss Ella, Homework Club has been a space for our dolphins to join and choose to work independently in the main room or join a breakout room with classmates or grade level peers to socialize while working on their schoolwork together. We have a very special student who wanted to share her experience about not just Homework Club, but also distance learning overall. Everyone, please meet Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe and I am a second grade student in Miss Hada's class. My favorite thing about being in Miss Hada's class this year during distant learning has been being able to see my classmates on Zoom while learning. I've also loved Homework Club with Miss Bateman because she makes homework fun and I can talk to my friends while doing homework. Other reasons why I have enjoyed distant learning at Holly Avenue are being with my family, practicing how to use a keyboard, and still being able to learn. Thank you. Bye.
So we hope you've enjoyed our school spotlight. Believe it or not, we were not able to show you everything that we do at school tonight, but we hope that you remember that the physical doors may have closed, but our hearts are always open and teaching, learning, and opportunities never stopped. Thank you.
Wow. I tell you, I've got 3 pages of notes. I am blown away by all that you guys are doing and the love and caring that is going into teaching our youngest learners is just amazing. I will open it up to questions and comments from the board.
All right, so I, of course, have to comment. I know Holly Avenue really well because both my daughters are there and went there. They're both now at Arcadia High School, and I can attest to the fact that Holly Avenue is a big family, a loving one. And tonight, I was just so great to just fly through Hollyland and just see all the dolphins, students who just feel safe, connected, included. And what I love is that they feel like their voices are being heard, which is so important. And just that emphasis on collaboration, creativity, and support among not only your staff and teachers, but your families, it's pretty amazing. I mean, all these virtual boardwalks have been amazing, and every school just has something even more amazing to I mean, it's kind of like what Micah's mom had said, where she was at every IEP meeting, she's floored. And I'd have to say that would be a good word for this. That I'm just floored at how much that, our schools are able to do, our teachers, and how creative and how much engagement they're getting in virtual learning. It's pretty amazing. So thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I wish that I could be as eloquent as your students. They were all just an extra clap for all of them tonight. From the kindergartners on up, they are just going to be amazing young adults. So I can't wait to see what they do in the future. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Principal Oakland. Yeah, everything Shirley said, wonderful, wonderful presentation. It's great hearing from so many of your wonderful students, Braden, Logan, Brandon, Mosin, Katie, great poem. Cody, sorry, Haley, Zoe. I really appreciate, taking the challenge of distance learning and what you've done is to create those opportunities to expand on what you're able to do. Seeing the ELAC be able to expand to 50 families because doing it virtually is much easier, and having Micah's mom have more tools at her disposal to be able to understand how Micah learns and how to better teach him. It's just so wonderful to see all of these things. So thank you for showing them to us, and great work to you and all of your staff and parents and families.
I'll jump in. My face hurts from smiling. Oh my gosh, of getting to see students all night long, and how that just illustrates so vividly everything that's happening at Holly Avenue. The big word that stood out to me was voice. And you have to feel safe and confident in order to feel good about using your voice. And your kids have voices and have a lot to say. And even if they're shy, they are using their voices. So the supports that you're putting in place to encourage that, they shine, which is amazing. And it is all due to the work that happens, and it's a lot of work. But I mean, everything from hearing in kindergarten that we want kids to learn to listen, but also be heard, all the way up through in Mrs. Baum's class, the different choices and how that leads to voice and better discussion. And I had shades of the inauguration of President Biden and the poem, listening to the beautiful piece written about Holly Avenue and the family that is there. I can't even put into words. I also have 3 pages of notes, different things about things that are happening. But I just wanted to highlight, I loved hearing about the library and all of the activities and the way that that's knit in, and the access to reading material. Because I think when people think about virtual learning, there's that, oh my gosh, we're far away from school. And you guys have fostered this wonderful connection, but also by giving access to materials like that. So constantly, kids aren't far away. They're there with you. So thank you for creating that.
Yeah, just to echo what my fellow board members have said, great presentation. Thank you, Mrs. Oakland and your staff. There's so much that was presented. In broad strokes, I think what's important is really you met the challenge of what we had in front of us, but you just found ways to be creative. You've embraced technology. It was just great to just hear and see the students too. I think that's something I really miss. And it was just wonderful to hear from them and really see how bright and brilliant they really are. And probably the key thing that stuck out for me really was that you really get a sense of community at Holly Avenue. You really feel family, and that's a beautiful thing. So appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, as I look at my notes, I've highlighted the Holly Avenue's family and how everybody creatively is engaging those students. And I too highlighted the learning how my son learns. And that is so key for us parents to figure that out, because I know my boys are entirely opposite how they learn. I love, from kindergarten all the way up through grade 5, the virtual visits all over the city, all over the country. It's amazing. But I'll tell you, that 3rd grade classroom, first, I can't believe those are just 3rd graders. But Brandon talking about learning how to focus, and Mosine saying, I found my superpower, it's my voice and our voices. How many kids know that already? And with Cody, I did too. I wrote down poet laureate in our midst. Not giving up is the secret of life. And oh, so true. These kids are wise beyond their age. And then to find out things like what Mrs. Dolly was talking about, the Horizon Discovery Reading Program. It's so nice that you're finding things that are really working, that are giving measurable improvement to these kids in today's world. We're not waiting to come back to in-person instruction. You're making sure they're getting it right now. Kudos to the entire, I mean, I could keep going on. We all could, but kudos to the entire team. Any of our administrators wanted to say anything?
I'll jump in real quick, Kay. Thank you to Principal Oakland and the entire team. Thank you, students, for staying up so late just to share your experience and your story with us. Just watching the joy, I kind of like Board Member Chavez mentioned, my face hurting from smiling. That joy and that passion and just wanting to share their experience and their connections to their fellow classmates and their teachers. That just says everything about the ability of Holly Avenue staff to, and with the PTA and the parents and everyone, to reimagine, but not lose your values. Reimagine what it looks like, but ensuring that the values that have made Holly what it is continued even in a different environment. And so I'm so incredibly proud of everything that you've accomplished this year for your students. And it was fabulous to hear from them. So thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. I know some of the kids have to go to bed now, so we'll make sure that they get off. But thank you so much for your kind words. And it truly is a family at Holly. I'm very blessed to be there. So thank you.
Thank you all. Okay. We're now to information item 7B, standing, as we get to information item 7B, standing in solidarity with our Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. I need to go to Miss Amber Nuvali to read a comment.
Yes, good evening, President Kinsler. We do have one public comment that was digitally submitted that was requested to be read prior to this item. It is from Carolee Wong Nakatsuka, a staff member. Since COVID-19 became news in the United States, hate speech and violence against the AAPI community has run rampant. 40% of US adults believe, quote, "It has become more common for people to express racist views towards Asians since the pandemic began," end quote. Stop AAPI Hate, a coalition of Asian American groups that has created a reporting center, received 3,795 incidents from March 19th, 2020 to February 28th, 2021. The majority of hate crimes reported from all 50 states was in California, 44.56%. The Atlanta shooting alarmed many Americans and further traumatized our Asian community. Our students are very aware of all of this, as evidenced by their comments when I discussed the Atlanta shootings with them. Their comments included, "As an Asian, I guess I'm always worried when my mom goes out to work. It is really scary to know that people close to me, like my friends, could be targeted and hurt. What is even more scary is that some people will try to justify other people hurting my friends just because they are Asian. These events are happening today and we are trying to stop it. Asians are being hated on and attacked just for being Asian. Asian crimes are a serious issue and have to be resolved. Sick. We need to put a stop to the racism in our communities." I took an informal poll of my students' opinion on returning. The great majority of Asian students do not want to return. Arcadia Unified statement of solidarity with the AAPI community is appreciated, but it is not enough. They are just words on a page until they are applied across the district. As we prepare to return in person, let's care for the emotional well-being of our entire Arcadia Asian community. Thank you. And that ends the comment. President Kinsler, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I will turn it over to Dr. Van Ostall to lead the discussion.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to you and the rest of the board members for placing this very important topic on tonight's agenda. I'd like to read a couple paragraphs from the opening of the statement that I wrote on behalf of the board and the district on this, and then I'd like to say a few words and then open it up for some discussion. It's been deeply upsetting to see news headlines of xenophobic behavior, name calling, assaults, and too many other senseless and egregious hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Because this is too important to go without saying, Arcadia Unified vehemently condemns any and all racially motivated and xenophobic acts of harassment and violence. We will not tolerate racism or bigotry in any form. We have a robust Asian American and Pacific Islander community in Arcadia Unified and our Arcadia community, which makes it difficult to digest that many have shared that they feel the impacts of racism and xenophobia, which has been further magnified by the pandemic. Though I have not walked in their shoes, I am devastated by the fear and pain being experienced by our staff, our students, our families, and community members. We will continue to stand united against fear, hatred, and violence, and we remain committed to doing everything in our power to keep our schools as safe spaces for all our students, staff, and families. I'd like to encourage, sorry the light popped off, I just had to get them back on. I'd like to encourage everyone that has not had an opportunity to look at this statement to please take a look at it. It was emailed out to all our email accounts, but is also posted on our website. It is not only words, but it is a call to action that will be followed up with action across our campuses and on our in our classrooms. There are some resources that also went out with this. Very important to both the administration and the board that we provide as many resources to parents as possible. I know in my conversations and as a parent, it's very difficult sometimes to know how to approach such a topic. The resources specifically have conversations and resources for parents to get help with the best ways, age appropriate, to discuss these topics with your children, with your students. I'm very thankful in my conversations that the headlines that we've been seeing across the country of the attacks, the hideous, horrific physical attacks and harassment, I haven't heard that in my conversations. But I want to be clear that as an educator, what I have heard, the whispers at the grocery store, the comment on a campus, being excluded from a social event, this is as damaging and destructive as any hate crime we're reading right now in the headlines. And it's in Arcadia, it's in our community, it's in our schools. This call to action, I hope, is the beginning of deep conversations and challenges individually, professionally, to do everything that we can to ensure that we are aggressively combating all forms of racism and xenophobia. What we know is that our school spaces must be safe places for kids. And when we talk about learning and all the work that we put into the programs for academics and social emotional learning on our campuses, is that the starting point is psychological safety. If students don't feel safe and they don't feel like this is their home, then nothing else matters. You can't do anything else. And so my challenge to myself, to my staff, and to our entire community is to step up and do everything in your power and your role in this community to aggressively attack all forms of racism so our students can feel safe on their campuses, in their homes, at the stores, and in their neighborhoods. And so thank you, Madam President, for this opportunity. And I would encourage everyone to please seek out the resources and reach out, especially parents and students, to your counselors who can help you and provide some guidance if you're looking for resources. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Kay. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to open it up for discussion among the board members. I was struck by the audience comment that was read in taking a look at what more we can do. What, board sets policy and priorities, and it is a priority, I know, to all of us, or I think it is to all of us, that we have a school system that is free from hate, free from bullying. All that comes from the same place in my mind of ignorance or not understanding. And education is key to all that. So I'd love to open it to conversation of what more we can do. Go ahead.
So thank you, Dr. Van Esdel, for the putting out the statement. I think that meant a lot to our families, and the resources were a good start in just encouraging everybody and also making sure that people have the resources in order to continue the conversation. Because as Kay said, I think that education is the best weapon, and that means teaching our students about inclusiveness, different cultures, that differences are actually good, and that we can learn so much from each other's differences, and those things are focused on students, but also our staff and teachers also need to feel that support as well. And I think that hopefully we can move towards conversations within the staff and teachers as well in order to educate, because I think that it's until we have our conversations, there isn't going to be that understanding and that piece where people are able to understand each other. And so hopefully this is a great start. And I love that you're talking about action. And that means everything from helping our teachers talk to each other, talk to the students, talk to the families, giving them the resources, making sure our curriculum is more inclusive, which I know that we've started doing in the high school and hopefully at all grade levels. And and not just for our Asian community, for all communities that we have, because we have such a rich, diverse community. So, like I said, I appreciate the statement, and we've had a lot of great, I've had a lot of great conversations with families, and I'm hopeful that we can continue to be the district that we are, which is we're usually at the forefront And, you know, with technology, with our programs, and hopefully we'll be at the forefront of this as well. So thank you again.
I wanted to share a quote from our Congresswoman Judy Chu. Actually, she testified last week before the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Liberties at their hearing about discrimination and violence against Asian Americans. You know, people are talking about this at every level, and I'm really glad we're talking about it at our level. And she had one sentence that just really resonated with me. We must continue to push back against xenophobia every time it rears its ugly head. And I think opening up the discussion and having the difficult discussions is really important. And it isn't comfortable all the time. And I know, like, I attended some of our staff trainings earlier this year, and implicit bias and how we see each other and ourselves were topics, and they weren't easy topics, but I'm glad we're broaching them. And I think we just need to keep doing that more intentionally. And I think it was kind of, you know, when the stars align, the fact that the high school announced that they have and I wrote down the initials, the EDI commissioner, the equity, diversity, inclusion person, you know, the kids are talking about it too. And it breaks my heart when I think about, you know, people being attacked or just a snide remark. You know, there is no need for that. And we need to take a very, very solid stand, which I think we are doing. And I know it feels like sometimes words aren't enough, but words do matter. And it's the words that hurt, because often the hate crimes are not crimes physically, but they are just crimes of commentary. And I think that's a lot of times students, that's what they're exposed to. So anyway, I'm glad we're addressing it. It's really difficult. And I appreciated the statement going out because I think it's really important.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I also appreciate Dr. Manazal's statement. I think it is important to address it, bring it to the surface. I also agree with Carol Lee Wong Nakasuka that it should be beyond words. We should take action. Part of that action, though, are words. Dialogue is important. Conversation is important. Voice is important. If we don't tolerate hate, we should raise our voices. And it should be done on a local level. Each and every one of us as individuals need to play a part in that. It's not going to be our government that's going to solve this problem. Hatred begins with the individual, and it can be stopped at the same level. And that's kind of the charge. You know, we should all be personally responsible to raise our voices when it's not right. That's just my thought. So thank you.
So the conversations are definitely difficult. I struggle how to talk about this with my children, but you know, it is. I really appreciate the statement, Dr. Manalstal. I think it was necessary. I am sad that we live in a world where the statement is necessary. You know, the pain that the Asian American Pacific Islander community has felt over the past year, especially the last couple of weeks. It's been really difficult, of course, but also it's not really new. um, you know, similar things have been going on ever since, Asians immigrated over, starting from 150, 200 years ago. There's so much history that about these issues, and it's not something that's been taught to very many people at all. I was fortunate enough when I went to UCLA to take a lot of Asian American studies classes. And it wasn't until then that I learned about, the Los Angeles Chinatown Massacre of 1871 and the Page Act, the Chinese Exclusion Act, Executive Order 9066. We do learn about, we have learned about Japanese internment camps, right? That might be kind of the only thing we usually teach in schools, at least in the past. But we don't learn about the No-No Boys, 42nd, original combat team, Asian American participation in the civil rights movement in the 60s, the murder of Vincent Chin. There's just so much out there that I think has, the ignorance of that history and the participation of Asian Americans in this rich fabric of our country is part of the reason why we're having these issues. And we have come a long way, right? But like everyone else has said, there's a lot of work to do still. And although it is unfortunate that we had to do this statement, it's wonderful that we are in a world where we are talking about this now. I am so thankful we are, because we've never, as a country, really touched on these issues. And the fact that we are talking about it now, today, as a district throughout the country, that's good. It's really good. People are uniting to denounce, the fear, the hate, that division that these incidents have caused. But it's going to take a lot of work. It's not just, can't be just a hashtag, can't be just a statement. It's going to take work, unity, and love. And I want to pull out one sentence from Dr. Van Alstyle's statement, which I felt was really important. And that's, schools have the responsibility and power to create change and to help mold tomorrow's leaders and policymakers. And that says everything right there. We do have responsibility, and we do have the power to do that. So I'm looking very much looking forward to how we're going to continue to do that work and do our part to aid in the conversation and make a difference. The California just was it this week or last week, they approved the ethnic studies model curriculum. And I know in Masters in Governance, we learn about having equity statement. So, maybe as we do this work, we can talk more about those things and how, we can fulfill Dr. Rinaldo's promise to create that change. Because, we can build that community where love, respect, equity, and equality reign. And I absolutely believe not only that we have a role to do that, but we will be able to do that. Thank you, Madam President.
Now, I don't know if any of you are interested. The California School Boards Association did put together a sample resolution supporting people of Asian ancestry and condemning harassment, violence, and hatred towards people of Asian descent. We could use that as a base if we felt that we wanted to take the step of adopting a resolution and try to make it more Arcadia specific or for our students. I'm open to hearing what each of your thoughts are on that. If you think we ought to do that, Dr. Van Osdal's already made a very strong, good statement that we're all appreciative of. But if we wanted to take one more step, we could do that.
Okay, so I'll jump in. I think if we do a resolution, I would like to see in it that that there's a intent of not just that we're, in solidarity, or that we, we won't tolerate it. I think if we could put something in there that also says that we are committed to, putting the action certain things, and my, more diverse, curriculum, or, supporting our community and our teachers, our families, our teachers, something in that respect, and not just stating that we won't tolerate, is sort of, that's sort of that would be my input if we decide to do that, to put a resolution together.
I really like that idea, Shirley. Have it maybe more than just talking about it, but showing what we're going to do. Maybe we can do a study session on this, and maybe just brainstorm some ideas along with staff on, if they can poll different teachers and see what they think and what programs they think would be good to have, and we can have a study session maybe to put that together and really come up with something very strong and actionable, rather than just a regular resolution. I think Dr. Vanossel's statements are already very powerful. But we do need to tie the words with the actions.
I am super appreciative of the statement, and it needs to be talked about. I worry that we, by focusing only on one population, which is a minority across the country, but in Arcadia is not, I think we need to address racism, xenophobia, maybe as a broader issue in a resolution and an action item. And I think a study session is a good idea. I've been doing a lot of reading about this the last few days, and one of the things I found most interesting, and I think it was in something a Stanford law professor wrote, was about the power of restorative justice when there are hate crimes compared to carceral justice. And they had a bunch of stats about how that was more effective and had longer lasting impact. And of course, it made me think immediately about how we in AUSD use restorative justice. And so I think that when we say we will not tolerate, and because we should not, but we are in education, and it's about teaching and forming and keeping community. And so I think that restorative justice, we already have it, but it needs to be a part of this. How do you bring people and teach them and keep them knit and back into the fold with that respect and care for others?
I agree with Lee also. Yeah, it should be because we are educators, and it hits the point where hatred and racism is usually the result of lack of knowledge, lack of information, ignorance, and we can help change that. And as everyone else has said, I believe in action as opposed to just words. We don't want just another resolution.
I agree with you too, Lee, about it should be a large, we shouldn't just keep it small. It should be a larger overall equity discussion and plan.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I like that study session idea because I think this resolution it could be far reaching. And I think that it will, what we put on it will help our district, guide the district in making decisions based on sort of, an overall plan, I guess. I don't know what else to call it, but an overall plan of how we want to approach this and how we want to educate. And the restorative justice, Lee, I was reading that too. I think that's super important. Yes, and I love that we do that here in Arcadia. I think that we've seen the results of that because at the end of the day, you can only condemn so much before it just becomes more negative, and educating and making people aware is the better route to go. So I appreciate that comment immensely. And I think another part, just a side note, is just that voice, making sure it's kind of like just even watching Holly's presentation today and the students feeling like they have a voice. I think that that's really a key because, speaking out and, defending and feeling safe in doing that, that would be an ultimate goal for our entire district, our community, our world, really. So that voice component, I think, would be great as well.
Okay, I'm sitting here taking my notes so that I have it all down and all the input. So that sounds good. I'll talk with Dr. Van Osdal, and I'm certain he'll work with the whole executive team and we'll come up with something that will really address, because I'm glad, because that's kind of where I'm at too. The resolution that CSBA came out with is fine, but it's not really actionable or specific. And so moving it with all of your input, I think we're all on the same page. So I love that idea, and it's going to be broader, dealing with racism and hatred. And
Okay, you're muted.
have I been muting the whole time?
No, you just hit it. You just hit it.
Oh, good. Phew. So that is great.
So, Madam President, I will work with staff to prepare and plan a study session, if I'm hearing correctly, and then after that, or part of the purpose of that study session would then get to a resolution that we feel is actionable and sets some guidance for the district as we move forward. So we'll bring that forward. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, that takes care of item B. And now we'll move on to item C, school reopening updates. And to begin the school reopening updates, I wanted to have a discussion with the board on, we have schools reopening, and when is the school board, when are the school board meetings going to become live again versus virtual? And I wanted to kind of pull everybody where each one is on vaccines and each of your feelings about when it's okay to come back. And kind of my feeling is, if we have staff coming back and working in schools, if we move desks or their seats further apart and extend more into the room, we'd be able to meet the 6-foot minimum spacing by just adjusting the room a little bit and then spread out chairs so that we could safely go back. We'd have to limit how many. It would be tough when we have schools like Holly presenting with so many people. We'd have to figure out logistics that way. So I just wanted to talk to each of you. I know a couple of you have some health department information and that, so I'll open up the discussion. Who would like to start?
I'll just jump in really quick. I think, just as we gave our teachers an opportunity to be vaccinated, I'm hoping that we can also accomplish that before we go back. I know many of us are on the way or halfway there if we're 2 doses in. But in just thinking logistically, maybe if we are back in person we can do sort of a hybrid thing. If Holly were presenting, it would still be a virtual presentation so that all of those people aren't together. I think that, I don't know, I've been like hypersensitive because most of my parents have some underlying health issues. So I've like gone nowhere for a year practically and seen people only outside and that kind of thing. So this is going to be a big step for me personally, which I am up to take, but I would like to get that second vaccine.
My understanding, I know we kind of waited, many of us board members waited to make sure that teachers and staff who had to go back got vaccines first. And now we're finally getting them. I know I get my second vaccine later this week. So 2 weeks later, I should be pretty good. But some of you, I think, are a week or 2 later than that, if I'm not mistaken. So,
right. Yeah. Sorry. But my second one is about a week and a half away.
So that means the earliest you would want to come back in a meeting room would be later in April.
Yeah, if that's, yes.
The second meeting in April.
Yeah, my second is 2 weeks away.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you, I think it's going to be a challenge for all of us because I know I have a 96-year-old father who has not yet been vaccinated. So I can't carry the germ and I'm his primary contact to the world. So I can't bring it into him. So I too am very cautious about this. Will you, and so it's going to be an adjustment for all of us. If we're able to space far enough, and I know we've upgraded all the HVAC equipment, by then it will be done throughout the district. So that will be safe from that standpoint. Do you think that's about the right time then if we waited till 2 weeks after the last of us gets vaccinated to then go back to in person and still keep some of the presentations virtual so we don't get so many people brought back in? And the question will be, we'll need to talk with Scott and our technology group to make sure that that would work smoothly, or as smoothly as possible.
Madam President, yeah, I'm good either way. Whether we go back and do a hybrid meeting, with individual board member concerns, I think it should be okay if a few of us choose not to go back to in person. I think that should be okay as well. Public health has said, they discourage in-person meetings unless they're critical, and they're limited to 15 people in the room at a time, obviously socially distanced with masks and everything. I would be interested to see how difficult it would be, technically speaking, to do a hybrid meeting It does seem rather complicated, but I'm good with trying if everyone else is.
Now, I worry a little bit because I am hard of hearing. I know I do a lot of lip reading, so I'm thankful that people are not wearing masks because I'm looking at your lips as you speak. And I worry about being in a big meeting room with people with masks on, that everybody would be able to hear. And since we're broadcasting the meeting so that our community and public can hear what we're talking about, I would love to, of course, I guess we can go ahead and use Google captioning on everything that we record though. So maybe I worry about something that I don't need to be worrying about.
I'm open, Madam President, to meeting in person, but however, I'd be more comfortable if the entire board was comfortable with that.
Okay, agreed. I'm trying to think what should be the next step. I am wondering at what point the Department of Public Health is going to change the guidelines, because things, as we've seen, are evolving very quickly. Even today, there's been new guidance on distance between students and all. I know we're going to be hearing more about that in just a few minutes. So maybe we'll end up discussing this again at our next board meeting as more brief form to figure out the final timing of this.
Yeah, Madam President, as I'm following the transmission rates and what's coming out of the LA Health Department, it looks like we would be dropping into the orange, another tier around spring break time, before students are returning. Doesn't mean that they'll change guidance for adult meetings. A lot of the guidance coming out of the health department is specifically about students and the research and the studies on student transmission within students to students. So it is a little bit different for a gathering of adults in one room, but that might change. So maybe we hearing the concerns tonight, maybe we revisit it in April.
I think too, since we know that we are all on the pathway to immunization, then maybe we just can also look at, what is that? There's that window after your second immunization until they feel like it's completely, the efficacy is there. Maybe we just wait until everyone has hit that point, because like you said, I think we're a bit staggered there. But yeah, revisiting in April, because we'll have a better idea of what that looks like and what the health department's saying at that time is probably a good idea.
That sounds good. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Van Osdol for the report from administration.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. And we have a lot to share tonight. So if you need to get up and stretch and you've been watching, this is halftime. We have a lot of great information about the reopening to share tonight. But I want to pause for a moment and just recognize that the conversation that we're having tonight about all of the work with the reopening, you'll hear me use a lot of time this word transition, because truly we're talking about 6 to 7 weeks of the end of the year. So all of this work, which is a tremendous amount of work, is going into ensuring that our students, those that choose, families that choose, have an opportunity to come back on campus for in-person learning. And we've heard a lot of great stories tonight, especially from Holly Avenue about, students that have been thriving in this environment, but also recognizing that it hasn't been without its challenges, right? We all recognize that. And so, as we continue to look at the surveys that have come in and the stories from parents, we know that there are some students that we would have never known that are really thriving and have enjoyed this experience. And we have students that have struggled. And those students, for the parents that opt in, really need to get on campus. They really need to have that instructional time in the classroom with their teacher. And so that's the work that we've been doing to create a dual program just for that last 6-7 weeks of school, so that we can continue to serve students that are in the virtual environment, and be able to have students on campus for in-person learning. So that's the work we're talking about. But I want to talk about the fall, because all of that work, and when you're hearing the different learning models and some virtual, some not, we're talking about the last 6-7 weeks of school. I want to be clear that when we talk about the fall and opening school for that next school year, we have every expectation within the limits of the law to be back full-time, 100% students, teachers, staff, back on our campus. And if you need a picture for that, go back and remember what it looked like before the pandemic, with full schedules, students on campus, the athletics after school, the music, throw in some masks, because social distancing the guidance will change. I'll be sharing that in a minute. It's changed again just in the last 24 hours. But with masks, with the safety protocols in place, we will be back to as close to normalcy as you can imagine. And we're very excited about that. And so I think there's been some confusion as we're talking about the last 6-7 weeks of school and what that looks like, people projecting that into the fall. And that's two different things. So I want to be clear that we have every expectation within the limits we have. But with the transmission rates continuing to drop, the new flexible guidelines by the LA Health Department, we are seeing a lot of flexibility, and we're continuing to drop in those tiers. So we have every expectation for our families for everyone to return in the fall. We will continue to offer that virtual offering as we move forward. And that's simply because we have families that have discovered that this might be an environment long-term for their child as a learning environment. But it will be, and come the fall, any learning in a virtual environment would be a separate program that we will be creating, and you'll be hearing about very soon. So there'll be two separate programs, and we'll have a virtual academy to manage that. So with no impact on the regular in-person school going on campuses. So with that, one of the latest updates that we've had, which is very exciting as the flexibility continues to increase, and that is the social distancing now. Guidelines by the LA Health Department have moved to 3 feet a space that's larger than 3 feet between students. It still maintains 6 feet between students and staff, adults on campus, but it's 3 feet for students with no recommendations of plexiglass or barriers at all. So we're very pleased to continue to see that. And of course, there's a direct association to those new guidelines from the CDC based on studies that they've been doing across the country in schools, and the transmission rates with that 3 feet social distancing, and students able to move freely around the classrooms and the learning environments, just respecting that 3 feet, of course, with protective equipment like masks on. So very excited about those. And again, we understand and respect parents' decisions for that last 6 to 7 weeks. And I want to say thank you to our staff, the site-based leadership teams that include parents and students, and both certificated and classified staff that have been working hard on what best learning model and schedule will work for the sites to end that last 6-7 weeks with the best experience for both our virtual students and our in-person. So thank you all for all of the work that you've done. I'm confident on April 12th, it's going to be a great experience for our students returning and for our students that are choosing to stay in virtual. And then we'll finish the year out, and we'll have the summer to plan, and look forward to seeing everyone back in the fall. So with that, we'll get on with the reports. A lot of things going on 360 degrees with our planning. And so we'll kick it off. We'll start with our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, Dear Kesslin.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a few department updates, and then I'll show a quick video. Uh, Maybe not as exciting as the Holly Avenue videos, but hopefully just as educational. So I'll start with nutrition services. Our director, Kathleen Ashworth, is working with all of our principals to develop schedules for each of our schools that aligns with the school's instructional schedule, so that we can distribute meals for both our on-campus and remote students. At the Performing Arts Center, I'd like to thank Keith DeLuca and his team for building the sets for our spring musical. This was something that they built outside in the PAC courtyard. And even though all theater sets are designed to be temporary, this one actually had to survive several days of rain last week, and it did, and it looked great. And I don't know about you, but the previews I've seen of the musical look really amazing. I'm excited for that coming up. And then within the facilities and operational services, Tony Barrios, the director, and I, we've received probably the most common questions that we've received are related to our HVAC systems and also the bipolar ionization units that we've installed for our classrooms. And so that's the video I'd like to show. It's a short 3-minute video that explains how these ionization units work. This short video, as well as a longer, more detailed video, will be available on our district's website in the COVID FAQ section. So if you're interested, you can revisit it and also see the longer one. And the one point that I want to make, which is not in this video, it is in the longer one, but it's about the effectiveness of the systems that we have in our classrooms. The filters, the air filters that we have in our systems right now are either a MERV 8 or a MERV 10. MERV stands for minimum efficiency reporting value. The higher the number, the better the filter. And there's been conversations about upgrading to MERV 13. Most of our systems are not able to handle that level of filter due to the pressure that builds up within the system. But one of the things that the combination of a MERV 8 or a MERV 10 filter with an ionization unit, it's been actually shown in studies that that combination cleans the classroom air as well as a MERV 13 filter alone. I just wanted to highlight that. And with that, I am going to hopefully show this video to all of you right now, and that will conclude my portion of the presentation. Here we go.
Have you ever heard someone say, "Let's go inside to get some fresh air"? Probably not, and it's for good reason. On average, we spend 90% of our time indoors. But according to the EPA, indoor air is often 2 to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. In fact, many of the buildings we occupy could be harmful to our health without us ever knowing. Hidden molds, off-gassing from chemicals or furniture, and even people are just a few of the sources that degrade indoor air quality. So it's no wonder we go outside for fresh air. Outdoors, naturally occurring ions are everywhere and are constantly working to clean the air. Ions are created with energy from rushing water, crashing waves, and even sunlight. Unfortunately, the concentration of these naturally occurring ions is much lower indoors, where particles are often suspended in the air. These particles can include dust, dander, pollen, smoke, and even pathogens such as mold, viruses, and bacteria. The risks associated with inhaling bacteria and viruses may seem obvious, but even common dust and dander can cause respiratory issues or worsen pre-existing conditions such as asthma and allergies. There's still hope for indoor air quality though, thanks to ionization. Our patented needlepoint bipolar ionization technology safely introduces ions into the airstream, using the airflow in your existing ventilation system as the delivery method. When these ions disperse throughout a space, such as an office or a schoolroom, they combine with particles suspended in the air. This creates a snowball effect in which particles of opposite polarity begin to cluster together. As these large clusters pass back through the HVAC return, they're easier to capture in the filtration system. Our cleaning process is also effective against pathogens. When contact is made with ions, it disrupts many pathogen surface proteins, rendering them inactive. Other common indoor air pollutants include VOCs, or volatile organic compounds. There are hundreds of types of VOCs that are created by common household items, such as cleaning chemicals. Ionization is effective at tackling VOCs as well as odors, such as those lingering around nearby trash. Through our patented technology, VOCs and odors are broken down into basic, harmless compounds, leaving the air smelling more fresh and clean. You can also feel confident knowing that, unlike many other products, our ionization cleaning process will not introduce ozone or other harmful byproducts into the air you breathe. Today, our technology is trusted to safely clean the air in hundreds of thousands of installations, including offices, schools, airports, hospitals, and other community spaces around the world. So now we can stay inside to get some fresh air.
And I apologize if there was some echo there, but like I said, that video will be available on our FAQ website if you'd like to see it again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Any questions? All right, great. Let's move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resource Services, Dr. Horatio.
Great, thank you so much. So tonight, per the usual, I will be reporting on health services, special education, and human resource services. So starting with health services on behalf of District Nurse Erica Newkirk, Health Services has been happy and excited to perform site visits at each of the school sites to review health and safety protocols, including plans for entry, health screenings, and isolation or care areas. We will continue to provide support to school site leaders as needed throughout the reopening process and after students have returned to school. Health Services has offered training materials for all teachers and staff, including training on PPE, basic training on triaging students, and use of the isolation or care areas. Skill reviews will also be offered to any and all staff who need to utilize specific precautions due to their normal job responsibilities. Health Services will continue to provide consultation and support as we finalize our new health screening tool. We will be reviewing health screening questions to ensure they are consistent with county guidelines in efforts to reduce the likelihood of an on-campus exposure. The department would like to extend a big thanks to Catherine Mahoney and the special education team. They are grateful for the partnership as they navigate how students with special needs will safely return to campuses as well. Health Services is excited to have students back on campus and will happily continue to provide consultation and support for different departments as they solidify their plans and beyond. Moving on to special education, on behalf of Dr. Catherine Mahoney, our principals and assistant principals have been working closely with our special education teachers and staff to plan for in-person options for students with disabilities to both ensure alignment and access with general education and school-wide programs, while also creating flexibility to consider individual student needs. A multidisciplinary work group has been reviewing the LA County Department of Public Health guidelines, which were updated on March 15th and again on March 22nd after we entered the red tier. These updates will guide our preparations over the coming weeks in relation to IEP service delivery. We will collaborate with families of students with pre-existing health conditions and/or disabilities to explore alternative strategies for compliance with LA County Department of Public Health face mask mandate. The department wishes to thank Tracy Sergi and Cecilia Griego, our special education program specialists, who have worked tirelessly to support the in-person options in Arcadia for our residents and our SELPA students, as well as coordinate with our West San Gabriel Valley SELPA partners regarding program access for our students in those programs. Moving on to human resources, HR has been working tirelessly to promote vaccination opportunities to all AUSD staff. Over a few weeks span, we have secured over 500 initial doses for our various employee groups through both City of Hope and the City of Arcadia. In addition to those opportunities, many employees have been vaccinated through pharmacies, regional point of distribution clinics, as well as their own healthcare providers, and we will continue to keep staff apprised of future opportunities as well. HR has been facilitating processes for staff unable to return in-person instruction and encourage staff to connect with HR if they are unable to return. HR has also been working hard to fill vacancies for nutrition services, operations, instructional assistants, LVNs, etc. And in addition, we are working to onboard new substitute teachers to our subpool. As this is the last board meeting before our April reopening, I just want to publicly thank the staff members of Health Services, HR, and Special Education. They are collaborating with our school sites and district departments to plan for a smooth and safe reopening. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Horatio. Any questions?
I have one, and I know we can't ask, or we don't have a way of knowing who did or didn't get vaccine, but do you have a rough idea of what percentage of staff decided to get a vaccine?
We don't. We're not able to collect that data, but what I can speak to is anecdotally, we know a lot of people have been signing up just through people talking to each other, that people are signing up for vaccines. We were thrilled when the state of California, when they opened up the vaccinations on March 1st, we actually just a week prior had been told by LA County Department of Public Health that it was going to be pretty slow going in the rollout. And we actually experienced the opposite of that. And I do know that ATA had done some internal polling, and they shared that their numbers were quite high in relation to their staff being vaccinated. So all that to say, I have a high level of confidence that our staff are taking the opportunity to get vaccinated. So we're happy to be able to provide those opportunities.
Anecdotally, you can't tell if it's 90% or 95% or anything like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have that. I'd be making that up.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving on to Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services, Dr. Forsey.
Good evening. I have 3 updates for you tonight from state assessment, elementary reopening, and secondary reopening. As of this moment, and that's very important, as of this moment, all school districts are required to give the California state mandated assessments. These assessments include Smarter Balanced for ELA and math, California Science Test, California Alternative Assessments, and the English Language Proficiency Assessments. We are currently 50% done in completing our LPAC assessments for our TK through 12 ELD students. Many thanks to our ELD teachers, coaches, and support staff for their assistance with completing these assessments. The California State Board of Education has requested a flexibility waiver from the U.S. Department of Education to allow for flexibility of the Smarter Balanced assessments, California Science Test, and California Alternate Assessments. We are currently waiting to hear back from the U.S. Department of Education regarding their review and approval of the waiver. This flexibility, if granted, would allow districts to use local assessments. If we use our local assessments, which is our Renaissance Star assessment and data, the results of those assessments will be reported publicly. The high school has historically assessed their 11th grade students in March to allow time between the AP testing and other activities that occur during the school year. In order to continue to do what is best for students and meet accountability requirements, the high school will be testing their 11th grade students after spring break per the current state requirements. They will also be testing any 12th grade students who need to take the California Science Test if needed. The situation with the state testing is very fluid. If we are unable to use local assessments, students in grades 3 through 8 will be testing in May. We appreciate the flexibility of our staff as we face uncertainty and thank all test site coordinators for their ability to adjust during this time. And I will take any questions on that if there are, try to parse it out a little bit.
So I had a question about how does this, do you even know how those assessments would be made when you've got half the students in class and the other half virtual? Is everyone just going to take it online?
So the SBA is an online assessment. So it's all done online. There is there's some wonderment around, can the state handle what it's about to embark on? And so I know the state is very interested. We have some very good sources at the state level, and they are very interested in getting this waiver completed. What we don't know is we have every confidence it'll be granted. Will it be granted before the school year's over and before we have to test? We don't know. We don't have.
That was going to be my question, Dr. Forsey, is do we have any idea when we will hear from the feds?
And so we're highly confident that 3 through 8, we have local assessments that are norm reference, so they will count. And they are the assessments we use to measure student growth during the regular years. So it's not new. It's data our teachers are used to seeing. In 11th grade, we don't have that because 11th graders are in such different courses. So to give one assessment to an 11th grader that isn't the state test is literally a waste of their time, because we have different levels of English. We have 11th graders probably in 5 different levels of math. And so what local assessment would you give? And so that's why the high school, and I believe very wisely, has chosen, let's just give the state test, let's get through it and move on. Okay, if there's no, are there more questions around testing? Okay, and I will now ask my friend Scott Bramley to please roll the slides. All right, I would first like to highlight the relationship and partnership between TIS and Ed Services, especially during this time, and especially Brian Anderson, who has been like a right-hand man in helping us ensure our timely emails to parents, to getting information out to parents quickly and efficiently, and really troubleshooting and problem solving with us to make sure we were able to do that. So a big shout out to them. Next slide, please, Scott. What you're looking at here is a pie graph, and this is the district-wide elementary parent commitment percentages. So the data you saw in previous meetings was the way parents indicated they were leaning, what they thought they wanted to do, and those were much closer to 50-50. When we asked for an actual commitment of whether you want to stay virtual or return to in-person learning through June 3rd, you can see that the data fell more towards virtual, more families, 54% wanting to stay virtual. And something that we are very proud of is that this data accounts for every student in Arcadia Unified TK through 5. And there was a lot of work that went into to make sure it accounted for every student TK through 5. Next slide, please, Scott. What you're seeing here is the district-wide commitment breakdown by grade level. And so what you'll see, and again, there's no big ahas here, except that the percent in person again is less than that in parents who wish to remain in virtual. And so what we found, and as Dr. Van Oswald said, the transition is that there is not this vast amount of people who want one or the other. We really have many people in our community who feel very strongly about coming back and very strongly about staying virtual. Next slide, please, Scott. So this is the commitment by elementary site. So now you're seeing it by school. You're seeing the percentages, a percent that want to stay in person. The remaining percent are obviously people who would like to stay virtual. So at Baldwin Stalker, 41%, indicate they want to be in person. Camino Grove, 49%, Highland Oaks, 58%, Holly Avenue, 38%, Hugo Reed, 44%, and Longley Way, 48%. Next slide, please, Scott. So the next steps for elementary. School sites are finalizing details and will communicate that directly with their families. What we know is that parents want to know what's going to happen at their school. At this point, they're not so much interested in district-wide and what everybody's doing. They really want to know what's going to happen at their school, what their drop-off will be, what their snack time will look like, and so forth. And so that communication will be coming from school sites with a lot of the details that you see listed here. A lot of that I would share when students do come back. There will be a significant amount of time that teachers and administration spend on school protocols. Remember, they haven't had that. We normally would spend time in August when students come teaching the protocols. That is enhanced in this environment. And so there will be some time, and our principals have been extremely mindful in how to teach that. And they are also extremely mindful in trying to get as much of that information to parents before they come back, so they have an idea of what that may look like. And yet we also know there's some things you just have to experience to really start to get it. But that first week especially will be a transition time, and I cannot stress that enough. Next slide, please, Scott. So our secondary update. All secondary site leadership teams discussed and approved their specific schedule for concurrent instruction. And so they've decided to do much the same as the elementary did, where they're going to do the virtual and the in-person learning at the same time. March 24th, which is tomorrow, all secondary sites will communicate schedules with their stakeholders. They are planning parent meetings, and yet we know, there could be power outages, and so they will go to a plan B if something like that happened. But they are planning to hold parent meetings and share those schedules with parents. March 25th, the parent commitment survey will go out, much like it did for the elementary schools, but that will go out by site, by our middle schools and our Arcadia High School, because their schedules aren't exactly the same. They're a little bit different. They're very similar, but they will go out by those sites for parents to commit on whether they want to stay virtual or come back for in-person learning. And then March 29th, those surveys will close. The data will be disaggregated and analyzed by sites. And then, parents and kids will be notified what that exact schedule will be, whether it would be cohorts. We aren't anticipating that. The early data from middle schools and the high school is that many more students want to stay virtual than come back, even more than elementary. And so we anticipate and we are hopeful that just like we were able to do in elementary, that all students who want will be able to come back for many, many days of the week. Next slide, please, Scott. So our next steps as a district in preparing for this, our March 25th swag time, the decision was made through the CTAC to dedicate that time to teachers for prepping for their return. It could be in their classroom, it could be some school-wide things that they need to do, but those 2 hours of swag time will be transitioned into prep time for teachers. The following information for April 1st and 2nd below, it will also go out in our coronavirus update on Friday. So what you're about to hear now will also go out to our teachers and parents and community in that update in one of the sections. So as soon as we announced we were coming back, our next pivot was, how do we get teachers time to prepare to come back? There's physical preparation, there's some professional development, there's some different kinds of planning. One of the things we were able to do in the fall was we worked with our ATA partners and were able to carve out planning time that would take place later in the year and basically bank that ahead of time and use that before school started for teachers to spend a lot of time doing PD to collaborate around the virtual learning in classroom. And I think we've seen the fruits of that. We certainly saw it tonight with Holly Avenue. And I think we've seen the fruits, not only of those decisions, But as I heard the board discuss earlier, we don't just need words, we need action. And you've also seen the actions that have supported that virtual environment and what our teachers have done. We don't have the luxury of that because we are in school. We can't bank time. We were adamant that we are not asking our teachers to work over spring break, that is not only is it inappropriate, but we're just not going to ask that. It's not fair. And so where we landed was we need to carve out April 1st and 2nd, which is the Thursday and Friday before spring break, for teacher prep days to return to school. Now, those are technically school days for us still. However, they are the 2 days before spring break. So our APSA partners, our counseling partners, are helping us with developing some asynchronous activities for kids to engage in. And so there will be things for students to engage in on April 1st and 2nd, but it will not be with their teacher, as their teacher will be getting their room physically ready. We have our coaches working on some PD videos that teachers can watch at their leisure, but they will also have office hours and meetings during those days where if teachers want more direction or more time to collaborate with the instructional coach, they'll be able to meet with them during those days. We're also working on some other PD opportunities for teachers to engage in, really in how to work with students in that dual environment, virtual and in person at the same time. So we will have activities during the 1st and 2nd for students, but formal attendance will not be taken. I would expect your next question to be, is that going to harm us, with attendance or financially? We've already checked on that. It will not. We are over our mandated number of days. And so it will not impact us in that way by being able to transition those days away from teachers taking the lead to some of our counselors and admin and other activities taking the lead. And I really want to stress this, that the way our relationships in Arcadia and the way we work together, this is a time where we can concretely say that our APSA friends and our counselors have stepped up and said, this other group needs time, and we're going to step up and take the lead and do some of this work that maybe isn't traditional work for them. And that is 100% evidence of the relationships over years and decades that we've built in the way that we do things together. And again, having worked in other districts, this is not a normal event. And so I just really want to highlight that relationship, not only amongst our groups, but even within our organizations, how they collaborate together. And their willingness to step up is something that this is why I work in Arcadia, is that willingness to step up and say, there's a need, we're going to fill the gap. And that is the end of my presentation for tonight. And I'm sure there's some questions around that.
I just have to say kudos to our teams who are stepping up and doing that. I know there are so many things the counselors can spend that time with the social emotional learning of our kids, helping them adjust to the new normal of hybrid and everything else. I'm certain they'll knock it out of the park, and it will be very useful time. And I just thank everybody.
Dr. Forsey, thanks for asking my question before I asked it or answering my question about the attendance and how that was going to impact our finances. We've put so much incredible energy into getting a safe and celebratory return to campus for our students. And I am just, I'm imagining, because I know that there's going to be so much happening around that, going back and celebrating that. How are we keeping in mind celebrating those kids who choose to stay home? And I have to say, as an aside, the fact that so many families want to stay virtual is just a testament to the success of the teachers and all the work that was done to make virtual valuable because in so many districts that has not been the case. So thank you there. But yeah, how are we going to celebrate both camps, not just the ones coming back?
So there's been some thought into the need to spend some extra time with in-person students around, again, coming back to school. And with that thought, immediately was pivoting to, and then we'll be able to spend some special time with virtual students as well. And so I don't think celebrating them at the same time would be very impactful or really honest. I mean, that's just not right. But we very much are thinking about doing some things with our in-person kids that are necessary, but also being mindful that there then could be time to do some things, solely with the virtual group as well.
Thanks. I know that all contingencies are considered and thought of, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, and again, I want to stress this will be a transition. It will. I mean, I express it this way: what happens and what it looks like on April 12th is not what it will look like, in mid-May. It's going to grow. It's going to build, and we just have to give the grace for our teachers to adjust. I'm asked a lot, tell me what it's going to look like. Well, nobody's done this before, so. What did the first person in space, what did it look like? Well, he was the first person in space. He could tell you when he got back. So I'll tell you when we get back. But just as when we started in virtual, and there was a lot of hesitancy and many of the same emotions around how are we going to do this? What we are seeing, and again, I love the way David shares it. This arc, you can see this arc, and some of the I'm not sure and some of the panic, and then you see it start to settle, and you see that really directed energy, and we very much are seeing that with our teachers and our sites, our principals and our site leaders. There's a lot of details, and I won't say that there's not a lot of thought and even anxiety at times, but we are seeing that arc really coming to that settling moment of very focused problem-solving energy. And that is a very, very good place for us to be.
And Lee, if you don't mind, just a quick follow-up, as we meet with ATA on a weekly basis as well, teachers are also talking about how do they, they've worked so hard, and they have this great class that they've served all year, and how do you maintain that class still feeling like one class, even as we, go back and have in-person and virtual options. And so I know that's being talked about by our teaching staff as well.
I also just want to add that, kind of piggybacking on your comment, Lee, about the families that, more than half selecting to stay in virtual, and a testament to, that connections that have been made. I just kind of want to correct the way, I've been stating as I've been speaking that, we have students that want to return and then families that aren't comfortable to return yet. And I'm not, as I'm speaking now with parents making the decisions, I want to kind of correct that, because it's really not about not being comfortable. What I'm hearing more is that their student is just in a routine, and they'd prefer to stay in that routine for the last 6-7 weeks of school. So, there may be some safety, concerns that are causing some, but for most of the conversations, I'm having parents that are saying one child's coming back and the other one's staying home. So it's been interesting to kind of see that unfold and play out. So any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Forsey. Moving on to our Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, Greg Gazanian.
Thank you, Dr. Van Asdal. As someone with a tech background, as I hear Dr. Forsey talking, I think to myself, this is one of the biggest reboots we've had in 100 years in Arcadia Unified. So it's been absolutely amazing to watch just everyone come together to make these plans and make this happen. So 2 quick updates based on what I shared at the last board meeting. One, as you may recall, we've been working on identifying the symptom checking platform that we're going to be using to make sure anyone coming on campus does not have symptoms related to COVID. I'm pleased to share that we have found a system that we've chosen, the Qualtrics symptom screening survey and platform. As you recall, we were looking at 3 things primarily. One, it has to meet symptom checking requirements, meaning that when you look at what we need to check, the symptoms, was it developed by an expert system? Does that meet the requirements? So with Qualtrics, it provides an expert-developed symptom checking survey based on health guidelines. It's been widely used in organizations. In fact, 14 other districts just in our area are using Qualtrics, and we've heard positive things about it. And even though it comes with an expert design survey, we can actually modify that based on anything we need to ask specifically in Arcadia. So our district nurse, Erica Newkirk, will be working on that customization. We also need something that was easy to use. This will be every day for parents who are filling it out on behalf of students or for staff who are coming on. It can't be something that you have to fiddle around with. It takes a while. Just has to be easy to use. So the survey is compatible with desktop, laptop, and mobile devices. It can be accessed through a traditional web link, an email reminder, or a QR code, which means we can post it up on the site or send out reminders. And those surveys can be easily verified by authorized Arcadia Unified staff, so we can verify that it was filled out. In addition, the survey and screening process will be available in various languages. So we were able to check off a lot in terms of ease of use. In addition, because it is health data and student data and staff data, it just needs to be secure. That's a non-negotiable. So we verified that they have some of the strictest security requirements of those platforms, including HIPAA compliance, with obviously with health data is something we have to have. So we've been very pleased with that selection. Obviously, that's the focus, but it is we were able to get a reasonable price on it as well. So we were pleased with how that turned out. We've been in communication with Qualtrics regarding the implementation, and we will be coordinating with departments and school sites to make sure that the system is easy to use in the context of site arrivals. Obviously, even if you can take the survey quickly, that needs to go smoothly once people get to the sites as well. And our sites have been just incredible in having those conversations, and we're going to be doing site visits and making sure that all lines up. In addition, we're going to be developing instructions and resources, explaining how to use the system, and getting people on early to try it. So we're very excited about that. At the previous board meeting, I also shared that we posted the COVID safety plan, which is required by the state of California for reopening. It's a combination safety checklist around guidelines and also a workplace safety compliance document. I believe I also mentioned that things would likely change. We would likely be updating it, and I'm pleased to say that was the case. We were right about that. As Dr. Van Asdal mentioned earlier, even with social distancing guidelines changing, we're going to go ahead and update that document to make sure it's as accurate as possible with the information that we have. So whenever we have those big shifts, we're going to go ahead and do that. And since we posted it, we've also moved from the purple tier to the red tier, so we'll be updating that as well. We just want to make sure that's up to date to make sure we're all squared away for the reopening. In addition, our district nurse, Erica Newkirk, has been visiting school sites, one, to walk the sites from a health perspective, but also to help each site prepare their county-level documentation that needs to be filled out at each school site. So that will be used in conjunction with the COVID safety plan to make sure that we filed all of our proper documentation to open with the most accurate information possible and in alignment with all of the guidelines. So we're continuing to track that. Just want to take a moment. Gosh, I'm always hesitant to make a list of thank yous because I know I'll miss some people, but the effort to reopen from a health and safety perspective, as well as everything else we're doing, has just been vast. So huge thank you to our district nurse, Erica Newkirk. She's been running around to the school site. She's been working on these plans. She's been communicating all of these new requirements, and it's just been this iterative process. Huge thanks to Dirk and Tony Barrios, Melinda Williams, Jaime Morales on the health and safety requirements piece. Again, there's been a lot to track, and the school sites and just numerous departments across the district who have been assisting in making sure that not only are we tracking the requirements, but we have the capacity to make sure it's a safe environment, as safe as possible when the kids come back. So thank yous all around. I know I miss people, but that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Greg, will we be able to test drive? Like, will people get to practice the health app before they have to use it, type thing?
That's absolutely our goal, Board Member Chavez. As soon as it's ready, and again, we're going to have a long conversation with Qualtrics tomorrow to build out that timeline. As soon as it's available, we're going to get it out for people to use. Even if they're not coming on campus that day, we want them to be able to practice. So that is certainly our goal.
Real quick, I want to add that as Greg was mentioning, updating that plan to show the latest changes in the health guidelines in addition to the social distancing changing from 4 to 6 feet to 3 feet between students, they also added an additional adult that can be a part of a cohort of students. So it was 2 adults maximum with a cohort of students. It's now 3. Just wanted to add that as well. So these are constantly moving, but these are all flexibilities that will help us deliver a better service to students as we come back. All right. Next, we have our Chief Communications Officer, Ryan Ferran. Thank you, Greg.
Good evening, everyone. So we sent out Coronavirus Update 38 on Friday, and we'll be sending out Coronavirus Update 39 this Friday. We published our FAQs last week and put those in the update, which is great. A huge thanks to so many teams and departments for helping answer those questions. Most of them came through Thought Exchange, so really appreciate all the parents and staff who asked those great questions, and then our staff, again, helping answer all those and creating the FAQs for everyone to see. We recently updated them today. Dr. Benalstal was just talking about the new distancing guideline changes, so that is now updated in our FAQs. So we're trying to keep that a live document and up to date as quick as possible. We also added the link in that portion where we talk about the changes in the physical distancing, social distancing guidelines, a link to the county guidelines, so you can go read it yourself and see all the changes, and the cohort differences also mentioned in there. So that is up on our website, and just appreciate all the staff from around the district everywhere helping with that. In update 39 on Friday, we'll also give parents another opportunity and staff an opportunity to ask some more questions through Thought Exchange. So we'll send that out in the update again, and we'll give them the weekend, probably till Monday, Tuesday morning, to answer those just like we did last week, get their questions in there. We're going to put in there the FAQs, so before people, maybe they ask their questions, check if it's not in the FAQs, and you can kind of get a sense of what's in there, what still questions are lingering, and we're happy to do that again and throw out the answers and continue to add to the FAQs. So that will be there. You may have seen on our Facebook page our DCI Bitmoji roster announcement for the official DCI team this year, which is our digital communications internship. We have 20 amazing students. You can see them in their Bitmoji glory. It's kind of a fun tradition that we announce our new interns every semester via Bitmoji. So last semester we had 12 because we're in the pandemic and couldn't really train people, didn't know what we were doing exactly, but this semester 20 amazing students, and they've been doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me and Miss Nuvali, who been pulled away a little bit, but the students are just, their leadership abilities and skills are fantastic. Just want to mention a few of the articles and projects they've done recently that may be of interest to folks. Grace wrote a great article about athletics in the midst of a pandemic, how they're adapting and what they're doing. So big thanks to Grace. Kylie wrote an article about the Middle School Wellness Summit. So if you missed that, but it was such a great opportunity for the mental health and wellness for our middle schoolers. She wrote a nice article about that. Then Arcadia High School clubs, how they're adapting in the pandemic. Bethany and Angela wrote about that. And the DCI team, they now have their own IG page that is Instagram for us older folks. So look out, DCI is on Instagram as well. They're our own group. So that's very cool if you want to give them a like and follow. Nice notes, they continue because they continue to come in. I'm going to briefly read an amazing nice note that came in today from one of our students. Mrs. Lucky has been such a great teacher to me and all my friends in class. She tries every day to make class fun through the computer. Even when there's computer problems, she still does her best to make sure we are all learning. Mrs. Lucky also sends home nice treat bags to let us know that she is thinking of us. When I'm having a hard day, Mrs. Lucky always checks to see if I need help, and she will email my mommy to see how I'm doing. This school year has been hard. It's nice to have a very loving and caring teacher like Mrs. Lucky. I am lucky to be a student at Camino Grove. Thank you. That is from Mason, a first grader at Camino Grove. Took the time to write that in our nice notes. Mommy, I'm sure, helped and provided some inspiration, but it's just love seeing those. So if you have a nice note to pass along to one of our very deserving staff members, please do. Just moments ago, I posted a video of one of our touchless temperature kiosks. Speaking of health and safety, so that's on our Facebook page and our Twitter. Really cool. You just walk up to it, takes your temperature. You don't need to do anything. So that video of how that works is on our Facebook and Twitter. In our coronavirus updates, we always encourage people to follow our Facebook and Twitter. We're not going to we'll always email folks critical information, but it's just nice to see some of how these things work. So you can see that on our social media.
All right, any questions for Ryan? All right, last we have our Chief Technology Officer, Scott Bramley, with a brief update.
Good evening. I have a couple of updates for you, and one thing I'd like to start off with. You were having the conversations about board meetings and what they will look like when we return and all of those things, and I was actually on a call on my next update, I just want to let you know that we have already begun thinking about what these board meetings are going to look like when we return. And, you know, even if they return completely to normal, we probably have the need to stream those meetings since we started streaming them back in March. And I feel good about the fact that we at least know we need to be thinking about those things, because when we closed, we didn't get an opportunity to think about those. We had just a few days to figure out how to stream a meeting. And much like Brent talked about, our classrooms are not going to look the same on April 12th as they are in mid-May. Our board meetings might not look the same our first meeting back as they do a few meetings later. We've gotten pretty good at this virtual meeting format that we're using. We weren't that good at it when we first started. All you have to do is go back and watch. So we have lots of options. I would like to thank Greg. Greg's been working with me on some ideas that might make some of this easier. I will definitely be using everybody on this call to come up with ideas that are going to help us with that. So I just want you to know that when the time comes and when you make that decision that we're going to be back, we will have some form of technology ready to not only handle the in-person and the hybrid piece of it, but also the streaming piece of it. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. It has been a very, very, very long day in TIS. This morning at about 4 a.m., we started getting alerts that there had been a power issue at Camino Grove, and that Camino Grove did not come back up after that power outage. Our core network switch, which has been in service for 13 years and was scheduled for replacement on Thursday of this week. What are the odds? 2 days before we were planning to replace a switch that has been online for 13 years, decided that it was time. And so we obviously have moved up the replacement of that device. I still have people on site tonight that are still trying to get classrooms online. We've been communicating with Danae, making sure that she knows what's up and what's not so she can communicate with staff. We will be back on site first thing in the morning to address these challenges. Needless to say, it hasn't just gone like we would have liked, unplugging the old device and plugging the new device in. There's always a challenge. So we will get through that, and we will get Camino Grove back up and functioning as soon as we possibly can. In an effort to support simultaneous learning, we are working very hard to acquire new technology for classrooms. You've gotten some of those updates, and making every reasonable effort to upgrade and adjust existing network configurations that can be completed prior to the start of in-person learning. Supply has been a major challenge. There is a massive device supply shortage in the United States right now because of schools returning. We've completed POs in place, and we're working to get delivery confirmations that will allow us to schedule installations prior to those return dates. Every day I get a little grayer when I don't have those confirmations, but I'm confident that we're going to get those. Supply shortages and record ransomware attacks on some of our trusted partners that just happened at the end of last week have also added to that challenge. But thankfully, many of our valuable relationships formed over the years have put us in a good position as schools all over the U.S. are going out trying to get this equipment at the same time. We'll keep you posted as we're able to confirm delivery of these devices and what the schedule will look like in terms of getting that set up. With that, that's my update. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, that concludes our reports tonight, Madam President.
I realized I had one question, and I think it's really for Dr. Forsey. The new standard of 3 feet. I know our teachers very often do small group instruction at those half round tables. Is that 3 feet distance enough for them to be able to utilize that? But they have to be 6 feet. So, I mean, they'd have to sit back from the table, I would guess.
Yes, I think small group instruction that looks anything like it did before is going to be a real challenge right now. And that 3 feet is a minimum. We're not going to be at the minimum all the time. We're saying, you know, somewhere between 3 and 6 feet is ideal. But that the small group instruction that used to happen, you know, I can't even say a year ago, because a year ago we were in the same situation. So more than a year ago will not look the same in person. We are very hopeful that, as Dr. Van Osdol shared, that we're hoping we can get, if not there, much closer to that in the fall when we reopen. Anticipate bringing everybody back who wants in the fall. Again, barring breaking some kind of law, that's the plan. And it doesn't mean that technology can't still play a role. One thing that's been interesting is even in a virtual environment, that small group instruction has really paid off. And, you know, our Renaissance data that I highlighted that may end up being our actual assessment data has shown that we don't really have more kids in intervention than we've had in a regular year. So our instruction, our small group instruction techniques have really worked even in the virtual setting.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Okay, were there any other questions that needed to be asked before we move on? Fabulous. We are to consent items A through J. Could I have a motion to approve them?
I'll move to approve consent items A through J.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Chung, seconded by Mr. Eng, I believe.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are to our board comments. I will, there was just a text message I wanted to let everybody know about. Oh, Raymond just forwarded it to everybody. So, but tomorrow morning, the rest of the masks are going to be delivered, and they're coming from Chino. Paul Chang says that we'll be there at 10:45. So any of us who can be there for the photo op at the maintenance yard would be fabulous at 10:45 in the morning. I just want to thank everybody throughout the system who's doing such, the work that you all are doing is just incredible to get us all back, and how professionally you're doing it. It's wonderful. I always expect it's going to be this way because we're Arcadia, but I just have to thank every single one of you and the entire team. This last week, other than us showing up earlier this week for a mass delivery of PPE, and I thank Council Member Paul Chang and his team who are donating these to the school district. More are coming tomorrow. And I think that's it for me. Going down the list, Mrs. Chavez.
Thank you so much, President Kinsler. I just want to say thanks to Holly Avenue for the joy, number one, because it was joyous. Number two, yeah, thank you to Bruce Chen, I believe it's Cindy Kong, and for Paul Chang facilitating that donation from them. So generous, and you know, I really grateful to have all the PPE coming in, and especially those really effective masks. I think that will help our staff feel more comfortable, and when we feel safe, we do a better job. And I just wanted to give a quick update. I participated in the California School Board Association legislative action. I'm really tired. Sorry, Action Week last week, and was able to participate in a few different meetings with Ed Chow, with Blanca Rubio, not Susan. We weren't able to get a meeting with her, and Anthony Portantino, and just was nice to have the opportunity to advocate along with other school board members in our general geographic area and a couple superintendents on behalf of our kids, and really bring our stories to life, sharing just, things about pension relief and maybe getting a June deferral taken care of and getting our money since they have it. But most importantly, just sharing how virtual learning's been going and the effect unfunded mandates have on us and those type of stories. So I think it was productive use of time, and was happy to represent the district in that. And my two last things are, one, just wanted to say thanks to both Mr. Fox and Miss Natsuka for taking the time to comment. Our community is made up of our families, the folks that attend our schools, but also the folks that work with us. And the fact that they take the time to share their thoughts is just, I think it's very meaningful, and I appreciate it. And then looking forward to Bright Star, the musical that Dirk was talking about, and have enjoyed seeing the trailer, and it'll be fun to see the kids perform. So, and we missed Connor tonight. I think some student commentary, especially about the statement in support of, being an ally and getting to the heart of education against discrimination and hate. It would have been really helpful, and I hope to hear from him maybe next time.
Thank you, Mrs. Chavez. Now to Mr. Eng.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I also want to thank once again City Council Member Paul Chang for the very generous donation of PPE equipment, 10 pallets, which is quite a bit. So thank you for that. Thank you for Holly Avenue's presentation. That was wonderful. It's really great just to see what's going on and how school is fun still. Just want to give a little update in terms of the athletic boosters. They attended a recent meeting, and the coaches were expressing how they were having outdoor practices, and it's been going really well. Not just that the kids can get together and practice, but even when practice is supposed to end, they just stayed. And it really shows how much they miss each other and miss being with each other. So just wanted to pass that along. And they are looking forward to eventually indoor practices for the indoor sports. I also attended the Arcadia Performing Arts Foundation meeting, and things are going along really well. They proceeded with issuing all the mini grants, up to $10,000 worth of mini grants to our teachers and instructors to help support the arts in our school district. And currently they're working on the scholarships that they're going to be giving to our seniors at the end of this year. 6 scholarships, and we're looking forward to that. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Eng. Mrs. Yee.
Thank you, Madam President. Just echoing everybody else, what they've said. Another big thank you to Mrs. Oakland and the Holly Avenue staff. It's, like Lee said, it was just pure joy, and it's something that I think we all need during this time. And it's just a testament to Holly Avenue's emphasis on just family, and, and I see it with my daughters. They still consider Holly Avenue their family, and as you heard, even my daughter, despite her super busy schedule as a junior, really wanted to give back and has just really loved tutoring the kids there. So I think we see that in all of our elementary schools. And like I said, it's a testament to our district and how much our students feel supported from the very beginning. So thank you to all the schools. And I also did want to echo Lee's thanks to Mr. Fox and Ms. Nakatsuka. It is great to hear from our community as well as our teachers and staff. And so thank you for just taking that time to give your comments and let us hear from you as well. And then, not to take too much more time, I also attended a lot of legislative conferences over the last few weeks. So I also attended the National PTA Legislative Conference at the national level with a lot of volunteers from the Arcadia Council PTA. It was a wonderful platform. They had a lot of wonderful speakers on mental health, school funding, and hopefully the parents who attended can bring that back to our PTAs so that we can continue giving our voice and to our legislators on what's important for our communities. Unfortunately, because of registration issues, we weren't able to meet with any of our legislators at the national level, but we're hoping now next year that we, if that opportunity is available, I think all of us would love to do that. I was also supposed to be part of this the CSBA Legislative Conference, watched their videos, and wanted to meet with the legislators again. And unfortunately, the timing just didn't work out. But I was happy that I was able to speak to Ed Chow and Senator Susie Rubio through California PTA Legislative Conference. I feel like this year was my legislative conference, education, and excited to hopefully get to do that again next year. And my last thing was just really quick thank you to Angie Dillman at the high school and her administration. They've really done a great job in their weekly virtual meetings for parents, updating us. And so I just wanted to just give my thanks for the work that they put into that, because I think it's been really helpful and just informing our high school parents. And our high school parents, I think, feel that, they feel like things are moving towards a positive direction, and they see all the hard work that our teachers and staff are putting into. So thank you to them. And lastly, just another thank you to all our PTA parents. As we saw on Holly Avenue, our parents have just put in so much time and effort into supporting our families and engaging them, putting on all those events. I know takes a lot of time, and they've really added to that fun component of virtual learning, I think, which has been, I think, another testament to the reason why our virtual classrooms have done so well. So thank you again to all of them. And I'm looking forward to the Dana Middle School Chalk Art Festival. I'm going to try to do some art on Friday. We'll see how that goes. I saw Fenton's and I was like, great, now I have to live up to Fenton's artwork. But I think that's really fun. So thank you, Dana, for putting that together. And that is all.
Thank you, Mrs. Yee. Mr. Chung.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm also looking forward to the chalk art of Dana. It's going to be very crude, but I'll do my best. Great meeting tonight. I know we're running past 3 hours, but so much really good information across the board from the Holly Avenue presentation and everybody really, along with the discussion about the statement that Dr. Nosal put out. Really proud to be on this board team, and really proud of the hard work that everyone from the district has been doing. I do want to recognize Ryan's work in the past couple of weeks, especially putting together all those website pages, the FAQs, the reopening pages, along with everything else. I'm sure he has a lot of help, but that I've heard nothing but great things about about those pages, and people really, really appreciate the information on them. So great job. And even the communications at the site level, I've been getting them myself. So I really, I really enjoy seeing that, and looking forward to April 12th and 19th. Also appreciate the focus on providing the best education possible for both in person and virtual. And thank you, Lee, for kind of bringing that up about making sure we celebrate both groups, for whatever reasons they chose to either path. So I know our professional development days with staff will be very important to look at, providing equally great education opportunities for both sets of people. Also want to reiterate my thank you to City Councilman Paul Chang for the facilitating and donation of those masks. Yeah, 10 pallets yesterday from Cindy Kong and Bruce Chan. I think we're getting 150,000 tomorrow from Andy Zhang. So love the partnership between the district and the city and the community. That really speaks so highly of our of what makes Arcadia special. It is really those relationships, those connections, and how we work together to achieve great things. As a parent, I was lucky enough to participate in the Hugo Reed Trade and Talent Show. I think it was last week. It was the first annual Trade and Talent Show, virtual, of course. And I did mine on emergency management, disaster preparedness, with a Minecraft kind of twist. And I think the kids actually had more questions about Minecraft than my actual job, but that's okay. It was still a lot of fun. So kudos to the Hugo Reed team for putting that on. I think it was very, very successful. I think I had over 200 kids come to my session, so it was great. Last thing I will mention, please don't forget about AEF summer school registration. High school is this week, so please check out those dates. I think I lost it here, but it is this week. And then middle school and elementary school registration opens next Tuesday, the March 30th. So for those who are interested, please go check out the website, arcadiaedfoundation.org. That is it, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Van Osdol.
Thank you, Madam President. It's hard not to repeat so many of the things already said, but out of respect for time, I just want to say a thank you to our parents that continue to reimagine what PTA can look like during this year of pandemic and virtual environment. They've done an amazing job, extraordinary to continue to provide those activities that just make school special and fun for our kids. And also, I think I just finished hitting almost every PTA, being invited to speak and just answer questions. They were very productive, very organized. Some of our presidents, were able to get the questions ahead of time. And I just really appreciate the presidents facilitating those Q&As and our ability to lean, as we always have, on those parents that step up in those PTA roles. Not just because they're interested in what's best for their child, but for all students. And that's, that mentality and their ability to champion for all students is what's always made PTA special, and those PTA parents very special to all of us, and keep it going. So thank you to all of those groups. And continue to invite me when you need some questions and answers to happen. I look forward to meeting with you, but in person very soon. So with that, I'm finished. Thank you.
Well, fabulous. With that, I believe we can call this meeting of the Board of Education adjourned at 10:24 p.m. Thank you all very much for a very good meeting.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.